are you to doubt El Dandy?
This is Robbie Eagles.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
Hi, this is Mimic. This is 5-time the world heavyweight champion, the Scrap Daddy himself, Scrap Ryder and Adam Pearce.
This is Brian Alvarez, and you are listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Welcome to the show, folks. My name is Josh Armour, and thanks very much for downloading Wrestle Radio Australia. This is our first episode.
Oh, yeah! G'day, this is Big Brody Marshall.
This is Brian Alvarez.
This is Dean Brady of the Millennials.
This is Jurassic Punk Sid Parker.
How many of you guys have heard the term kayfabe?
Hello, doggers. This is Jay Hunter from OSW Review.
This is Matt Grim Basso.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
This is Scrap Ryder and Adam Pearce, and you are locked in
to Wrestle Radio Australia.
I in the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, tell like I'm to muscle. If you suffer like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the band, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you ain't down with that, then I got two is what you suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, hold another cup. Let's be busy, 23, got me feeling way too sweet.
I was trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and it was just awful.
I've turned chicken salad into chicken shit. I will continue to do so.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit.
This is Bianca Belair.
Hey, this is Kevin Owens.
Hey, it's Seth freaking Rollins.
It is the man, Becky Lynch.
It's Rhea Ripley here, and you're listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. My name is Lachlan Albert, and I am joined by a man who always loves when it's a Cybernight. It's Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
That sounds like a clickbait question, mate, and you're headline chasing, and I won't be answering that.
A little bit.
Next.
Keeping it very serious and down the middle and face to face only is our other friend Jamie Abs. Jamie, how are you, mate?
We have beef after watching this episode.
Oh man, it's gonna be a fun one tonight. Look, Jamie has gone out of his way to watch a show that I had one of the best seats in the house for, which is Pro Wrestling League's Purge Cybernight. And that's on top of, all of the wrestling from around the world that we've got to talk about, which after a massive WrestleMania weekend is certainly stacked, as well as, some stuff going on in Queensland wrestling this week that we're going to talk about. But first, let's keep it to Todd and my home state, Pro Wrestling League's Purge Cybernight, a show from a couple of weeks ago that everybody get your glasses ready to take a drink. It's free on YouTube. That's right. You can head on over to YouTube, search for Pro Wrestling League. Worth following the channel because the shows do go up from Pro Wrestling League, within a couple of weeks of them happening in real life. So you can get those shows straight to your computer screen. Worth a follow, worth checking out for free. And speaking of, watching some stuff for free while you're at your computer, every Thursday night, you can head on over to twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia to follow what we're doing, get part of the conversation like Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges, who's already starting to stir up trouble over there in the chat. We'll get to it, Andy. But we're going to
talk about the good stuff first.
Let's talk about some great wrestling first and start with Pro Wrestling League's Purge Cybernight. Now, when we talk about Pro Wrestling League, Todd tends to back off a little bit, stay out of the way. This is because Todd and I do both work for Pro Wrestling League in different capacities. Todd involved in the main event of this show, managing Mitch Ryder. My job has me doing some commentary duties and occasionally a little bit of ring announcing, as it was on this show, which means that basically I just got to sit there and watch the show, which is very nice. So there is,
I've worked out a scam, so you don't have to pay for tickets anymore, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I get to watch the show. I'll try to be as critical as I can, but do be aware that, this is a company that I work with and there may be some bias creeping in there. Todd basically doesn't really get to see the whole show. Like the fact that he's backstage that whole time, involved in planning some stuff. He's not just going to sit here reviewing his own work. So he may have a little bit less to add than usual. But that's why we've got Jamie on, who's now seen the show. He's representing in the form of his Devil's Double shirt at the moment, which had some interesting effects on the show, especially at the end there. Let's go
to me, really.
Let's go from the top of the card. The show opening with a Pro Wrestling League Tag Team Title three-way match with Strong 94, JJ Avery and Renegade managing to get the win over Team QWA, Sam Cannon and Trent O'Day, as well as Wakel's Most Wanted, Cockroach and Tar, to regain their Pro Wrestling League Tag Team titles. Jamie, what did you think of this tag team triple threat opener?
Enjoyable. Yeah, really, really good. Trent is mega underrated. And Sam Cannon's moonsault is mind-blowing.
Unreal.
And when I watched this, I didn't know what the card was at all. I just knew there was a Rumble at some point and the main event. At first, I was like, I don't know if I would have opened with a three-way tag match. And then we went into another tag match, and I was like, oh. And then once I got further into the show, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see. This must have been a hard card to work out what match goes where and for it to flow.
Yeah,
and not
yeah, really, because when you look at it as a whole, how are you going to do it?
Yeah, you can't put the girls on. You can't put the Rumble first.
You can't put an I Quit match on first. You can't.
Yeah, and Career versus Company can't go first. I was like, okay, so I guess, that was the correct choice for this one to go first.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange card to be constructed out of 5 matches.
But I loved the finish. The finish was the best part for me because it added just another chapter to the Strong 94 and Waycole's rivalry that's kind of just been going along with them back and forward, costing each other moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges in the chat saying Strong 94 looked so good here. Renegade looked like a hoss. Avery looks really exciting. He doesn't seem to make mistakes.
Oh, he did. He teamed with Renegade. So,
Wow. Avery is one of those guys who, for how young he is, just consistently looks phenomenal. And I think having, the experience of Renegade to bounce off makes them a really exciting team. Wakel's Most Wanted. Tar is one of the more underrated guys in Queensland, in my opinion. He has the exact old school heavyweight look. He is just a big, wide, muscular dude, and he fills that role really well. And Cockroach is just caution to the wind, knows how to have wild moments in a match, knows how to be where he needs to be. And then those QWA boys, I've, said good things about over and over and over again. I think Sam Cannon's a freak of nature. I think Trent O'Day is just a phenomenal performer in everything you can ask for in a wrestler. I really liked these 6 going at it. I think it was a good combination of guys. I think that it was an interesting choice to have Team QWA win the titles at the Super Show, only to then drop them so quickly coming back. And the result is that in Pro Wrestling League, there's never been a successful defense of the Pro Wrestling League tag titles. And I worry that that is maybe not the best thing for the belts themselves. That can make them look a little bit, is this something that there's going to be any consistency for? You know what I mean?
Here's the token title change for a show type thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
I completely understand your thoughts on it, and I like it. Parts of it I really do kind of agree, but then you've also got like because I had to think of it in a different way as well. That you've got just 3 teams that are very even, constantly like fighting for each other. So it's like you could have it that one way where like and traditionally that's what I would do. Would have just like your first champion would be your first champion for a while, and sort of like establish that belt. But doing it this way is, I guess, it's different, which is not always a bad thing. Like it's something that we just don't see a lot because we normally see the traditional first champion going to be established with that belt now for a while. So we're not going to see a title change for a bit. So the fact that you've seen title change, you're like, gee, are these guys actually going to keep it next show or what?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like and the actual like in ring, I don't think there's any problem with, right? Like being picky about, no one holding is kind of going out of the way to have concerns about this match when really overall, like the talent are putting on a fantastic show when it comes to these tag titles. I'm consistently impressed with everyone involved.
And the fact that like 2 out of 3 of the title matches for the tag titles have been ladder matches as well kind of gives you that little bit of an extra out of it's changing hands. It's in
no
this
one's really
weird
getting pinned.
format, multiple teams in ladders. It's a toss of the coin at that point.
Which I really think for poor Trent O'Day, it's just tempting fate with ladders. I don't know if you know.
The poor man.
I don't know if you know. Do you know this, Jamie? He lost in a QWA ladder match. He lost part of his finger in a ladder match.
Oh, okay. Stop doing ladder matches, Trent. Jesus.
Yeah, one of his fingers from like I think it's that finger from there thing is gone.
Okay, yeah, no more ladder matches, Trent. Just go.
That's why, like every time I see him in a ladder match, I'm like, "What are you doing? You've only got 9 more of these suckers. Keep them, will you?"
That was in his first ladder match too, and then he hasn't lost one since. He keeps winning them. So, John in chat says middle finger. And John would know for sure. I know that. Here we go. Trent in the chat. 4-0, baby, says Trent in the chat. Yeah.
I love that we have my favorite member of Bro Day in the chat. I love that.
John in the chat says a fan came around backstage and said, "Hey, I think this is yours." Presumably talking about part of the finger.
Gross.
Oh my goodness. Wow. But yeah,
like wait for a fan to give you the finger, I guess.
A really enjoyable opener here, I thought, and it was followed up with another tag team title match. This time, the OPW women's tag team titles. The champions Billy Mack and Eugenie coming up against the challengers Kyla Knight and Christina Cade. Jamie, what did you think of this one?
Another enjoyable one. Again, a bit weird that it's back-to-back tag matches, but it is what it is. The things I liked about this was just the little things. Like there was a moment when Billy was doing the bow taunt in the middle of the ring, and Eugenie turned around and joined in as well. And I was like, oh, that's like those tiny little things that make them feel like a cohesive team, not just 2 singles tossed together. And there were a couple of moments where I felt the timing or positioning was a bit off, but I think Lachlan, your commentary was outstanding in this, where you kind of spun it and made it like storyline relevant because it was 2 new tag teams working together. So if there was anything that didn't quite feel right, it was because they weren't fresh. They weren't like established teams that have been working together for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that when you've got a match like this, it is worth noting that like Billy Mack, by far the most, it'd be between Billy Mack and Kyla Knight for the most experienced wrestler in the ring. And I know Billy Mack debuted during the pandemic. So like there is no one in this ring who has more than, 4-ish years of experience under their belt. Right. So that's really notable for, having the OPW women's tag team titles in there and getting what I thought was a pretty reasonable match. I know that there was some, what I thought, not great timing stuff in places, and that's going to happen when you've got, a tag match with people with less experience and, combinations of people that haven't worked together as much. But I just love that, we've got opportunities for women to showcase what they can do in Queensland, especially where, a women's tag team match where you've got 2 wrestlers on each side and having it work at all is, something worth celebrating. But yeah, I think that Eugenie to me stood out during this match as really looking like she had the experience. She had those little 1%ers. She had a bit more control of the match than the other people involved. I know that not everyone involved in the match was happy with how it went, and that is what it is. Trent in the chat says it goes to show that when stuff doesn't go to plan, at the heart of it, you still had 4 women who could hold the audience's attention. And I think that's, very right on with what Trent's saying there. And I think there was maybe not a huge amount of surprise that Billy and Eugenie were able to retain, but due to the fact that, I think it was a bit of a shock that they got these titles in the first place. There was still that little bit of a question mark there, which I thought was good. But I quite like Billy and Eugenie as a team, and I think Kyla and Christina were also well suited together. So I liked the formation of the teams. Todd, did you have anything to add on this one?
Yeah, I think Billy is very underrated for the time that she's been in the sport. For the time that her work is very good. She's one of those, and she's really one of those people backstage where you ask them to do something, and it's like, yep, how do you need this done? She just wants to learn. She's a sponge for that, and I love that stuff about her. And that I'm a fan of Christina Cades because I think she's got a big upside to her, and she's only been in this. When did she debut? What, last year? If that?
Yeah, pretty sure.
So all of these girls have got a ton of upside. They just have to keep working at it, and that's all they need. All it really is just reps. At the end of the day, just reps and hard work. And if you keep working at it, you're going to eventually get better. Hopefully.
Yeah. Especially and the little things that you can't teach, I think these girls have got. They've all got that connection to the crowd. They've all got, people see them come out and go, I want to support that person. The way that crowds connect to all 4 of these wrestlers is fantastic. So just being able to take that and get the in-ring stuff just refined and polished off, they're going to end up looking absolutely fantastic. I will also say to Billy Mack, congratulations on your wedding, which I believe was yesterday as we record. So to Billy Mack and to her now husband, congratulations to you both. Lots of love headed your way. Moving on.
Just with the OPW tag titles, it kind of raises a little bit of a question for me too, because there aren't a lot of straight female tag teams in Australia. I would like to kind of see that maybe be established a little bit more around the country so that when these opportunities do come up, it's not just tossing 2 people out there that haven't been ever worked together.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Racking my mind, the only ones I could think of were Backslide Girls.
The only other one that comes to mind is Starlux. And even then, that feels more.
What's the name of the other girls too in Renegades? Another tag team.
Yep.
Yep.
Charlie and
Rochelle.
Yeah, Rochelle. Thank you.
Yeah, Rochelle and Charlie says.
Do they have a
Andy
name
in the chat? I can't remember.
They had a tag name.
Glow Up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wild Angel. Glow Up is right. So, those 2 teams are doing that in Renegades. It does feel less like consistent tag team and more like people who are together. But
then there is seeing. When you think about it, over the breadth of the country, there's not a lot of girls.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have hey, let's do a regular tag team. When you're like, okay, who are we going to work every show? Oh, yeah, we can't.
Yeah, not every company has at least 4 girls.
Yeah, that's right. Beetle Bailey agrees, saying, I agree with Jamie. Maybe we need some fuller tag teams or stables. So, something worth thinking about. I think that it's worth celebrating that OPW did, want to have the women showcased enough that they've got those 2 women's titles opportunities. They've got the tags and they've got the women's championship. That's something worth celebrating in terms of OPW, that they want to have this wrestling community in Australia where they can represent women that consistently. So I think that's really good. But, it is going to be a bit of a challenge to consistently fill that spot. So we'll see how that goes in the future. Moving on.
If you're a couple of girl rookies, team up. Start working on some tag stuff. Because you're going to get booked places.
Especially in places like PWA and PWL where the gender thing isn't such a strong division. So something to stand out.
Like a team like Decadence up here in Queensland, I've heard them say several times that it's that thing of looking for the spot that is open locally and filling that spot, being the role that needs to be filled. Like, that's why they've been really successful as a tag team, is because there aren't a lot of consistent tag teams here in Queensland. So they went, let's be a consistent tag team. And that got them really far. So, there's a great bit of advice for any women who are early in their career in Australian wrestling. But moving on to a match that has been a long time in the making, and one that I'm going to have a little bit of a complaint before we go into the specifics of this match. But it's not so much about the match itself. It's about the circumstances around it, right? So this match is an I Quit match between Bobby Bishop and Jesse Daniels. This was, a long time coming. This is a feud that's built around a lot of history that even, a lot of people who've been going to shows for a couple of years wouldn't be aware of. There's a lot of build up here, and all of that was coming to a head in a dog collar match several months ago, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a really good reason that even though that feels like the natural conclusion of the feud, that we ended up with this I Quit match here. And we'll talk about kind of what happened with Jesse Daniels at the end of this show, where it was really important to have this big blow-off match leading into that. But I think what happened was they wanted to have what happened at the end of this show last time, but it didn't fit with going, you couldn't put this on a super show, and then you couldn't put it the show before a super show, because then you're not resolving it. You're not following on with the story at the super show, so it wouldn't make sense there. But you had to deal with this Bobby Jesse feud that was boiling over and getting to a really major point. Maybe not having the dog collar match previously would have made this feel like a proper blow-off, where it feels like you didn't have a blow-off previously. Because, they had this big dog collar match that feels like the culmination of a feud with custom dog collars where they're chained together by the neck. And then the next show, we're doing it again. Jesse Daniels interferes and costs Bobby Bishop a match at the Super Show.
I was going to say, the Super Show was the next show. And that's when Jesse interferes, I'm not going to go anywhere. You might have beaten me in the dog collar. I'm still not going to go anywhere. Leading to the I Quit match. But you're 100% right. Originally the first show of the year was going to be
the end.
This. Or it was going to happen at the end of last year. I can't remember quite right.
So I think, look, blame AEW for that, because if AEW had not been in town, it would have made a little more sense.
Tony.
Right? Damn it, Khan.
Everything.
All right. But in terms of the actual mechanics of this match, it had Jesse Daniels saying that he quits to Bobby Bishop in just under 20 minutes. Jamie, what was your feel on this one?
So firstly, on the entrances, I have an issue with you calling out mustachioed men. We are perfectly sane. I don't know what you're talking about.
Look at that thing on your lip, Jamie. My goodness. You're really defending that.
Yep.
All right. Go ahead.
You can't attack it when his partner is just like, you need to keep that.
Yeah, I don't have a choice. But yeah, I like my mustache, and I like Bobby's mustache as well. So
I'm like, yes.
Ree in the chat says, "Don't be jealous. You can't grow one, Lachlan." Ree called me out. Yep.
I can't not have a beard because my wife said my head looks like a thumb. So this is why I have a beard.
Yep, that's the way to go.
Yep.
All right. Besides that, Jamie,
the match itself, I enjoyed the match. It was really good. I loved Jesse like playing to their cameras as well. Like as he's walking around the ring, he's like looking and talking into their camera, which isn't something you see a lot on independent shows, especially here. Like I don't see a lot of people like even acknowledge the camera. It's kind of just there. So to see him do that was really great. And I loved the concerto spot towards the end of the match where it kind of circles back to that pre-super show to kind of tie it all together and get us to this.
The very first attack sort of thing.
Yeah. Look, Todd's highlighted a message to make me toot my own horn. So here we go. Bloody DJ says Lachlan's commentary about Bobby, quote, needing to protect the throat if he expects his opponent to be able to still vocalize the words "I quit" was perfect for this match. There was a lot going on in this match that I think was, very interesting around what an I Quit match does. And the fact that they were bringing in this long-term history, going for the concerto on the old belt, bringing in that history of it. And, Bobby and Jesse are clearly guys that think a lot about pro wrestling, right? Or at least Jesse does. Bobby thinks as much as he can about pro wrestling. Then Jesse, like you said, is doing that talking to camera. He's doing that bringing in, the old things related to the feud because he's got the old championship belt, right? It's that thinking the next level up. How do I perform to everything going on here that I was, really impressed by with these two. They're clearly professionals who know what they're doing and know how to get a lot out of the little moments, right? That's the other thing I found.
Bobby thinks about a lot of things. It's just at the same time. So
yeah, so I think that this match was, and you can see in the moments where the crowd is getting really invested, that they know to hold on them, to get the most that they can out of those moments, which I think sometimes can be a bit of a lost art of slowing down, letting things marinate, getting the energy out of it. I know that I got a little bit of frown on the commentary table for trying to appeal to the humanity of Bobby Bishop because Jesse Daniels is such a clear villain that the idea of making him seem like a human at all is maybe a no-go. But yeah, I think this was one of those matches where they really did turn up the violence in a way that I was quite impressed with. Todd, did you have any other thoughts on this one?
No, I just think both of these guys have worked really hard on this feud over the time, and you can see it in their matches, which is great to see. Like a lot of times you see guys like they've been working together for the last blah blah. Okay, we'll just go back and we'll do this and we'll do that spot and we'll do this spot and let's go. These two weren't like that. They were constantly coming up with different things they could do and different. Like when we did the spot in the last show where he came out and it wasn't him, it was somebody else in the jacket.
Yep.
So Bobby was like
under the mask to distract him.
Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. Like I love all of that thought that goes into. So it's just like not every match is the same match because they've been going in a feud. They're trying different things and they're elevating the feud with every match, and that's what I dug about this whole thing that they've been doing.
Which is especially impressive considering that this feud has been going on for over a year by the time that the Purge rolls around, right? Because like even not taking in all of that background stuff they brought in, the start of this feud was at the previous Purge where Jesse Daniels kind of came out of nowhere and targeted Bobby. Like that's a long feud to be keeping up, and they kept it interesting. They kept motion moving forward. They kept building on what they'd done previously. So that's really impressive.
And all even that shadow spot, it wasn't the exact same, just in reverse. Like it wasn't just Bobby doing it to Jesse. He did it in a slightly different way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm going to get the Excalibur voice ready because after this was the Purge Rumble, a 30-person Rumble where the competitors are allowed to bring a weapon to the ring. And this one was, with the whole Purge Cybernight gimmick, this was a fan vote for several things, including who entered first. But importantly, it was also a vote for what would be on the line in this match. And it became the Queensland Openweight title. Competitors in this match, including Andre Irons, Billy Mack, BK Calloway, Bones, Craven, Cockroach Cojones, Dick Riggs, EC Diamond, James Yeager, Jackson Cross, Jesse Love, JJ Avery, Kyler Knight, Logan Pierce, Renegade, Rip Riley, Roberto, Riker, Sam Cannon, Bastion James, Stepdad Charlie, Stepdad Chris, Tar, Tessa Armstrong, Toa, Trent O'Day, Christina Cade, Yeet Stevens, Zach Reynolds, and Zeke Andino, with EC Diamond, the defending champion, losing that belt in the end to Craven, who became the new Queensland Openweight champion by winning this, I believe, last eliminating Zeke Andino, if memory serves. I had a blast with this. Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges said exactly what I was about to say. The Bastion spot here was such a highlight. Everyone put it over so well. I was legit scared for him when Rip came out. For a split second, I forgot it was a work. It was so exciting to find out that Bastion was going into this Rumble. I found out day of that he was going to be involved. A lot of people found out day of that he was going to be involved. The fact that it was Rip that he was working with set a lot of our minds at ease because we were like, oh my goodness, Bastion's getting in there. Is he going to be safe? Oh, he's working with Rip.
Yeah, you're right.
But Rip is so freaking intimidating. And the fact that he was able to land that driver, you know, that's the Rikishi style driver off the shoulder and have it look just hideous to Bastion, who, full disclosure, has not done a lot of training in quite a while, right?
Wow, yeah.
So
he's done some training.
He's done some training, but it's been a little while, and he was never, you know, working full matches. So the fact that it was able to be worked around so well, the "Why Can't We Be Friends" entrance music, it was so hard not to just be laughing on commentary. But I think, you know, Rip played it to perfection. Bastion played it to perfection. There were a lot of people in this match who just nailed everything that they did. I'll go through a couple of personal highlights before I pass it over to Jamie. First of all, Craven is just an absolute stand-up guy who always delivers in the ring. So it's not a surprise to me that he is a contender for that open weight, and putting that on him, I think, is a really cool choice. EC Diamond is a hell of a worker, and there is a great reason that he was openweight champion for a while there because, again, consistently delivers. Andre Irons is someone I think is the damn future. Every time I see that kid work, he puts in his absolute best. He looks great doing it. He's got the look. He's got the moves. He's got the character. Everything there was just on. Logan Pierce is another one of those guys who I have nothing but good things to say about. And I think that the women in this match really played their part very well. And especially in Purges, there's an ongoing story with the women and Roberto, which I think was, you know, very fun to continue that going through. There was... I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff here. And I also really enjoyed the way that the people pulling double duty were able to make it, you know, follow through from the other matches they'd been in. It didn't look like they were fresh. It looked like they'd been in another match, but they were still able to get their character across in the Rumble. The other person I wanted to shout out is BK Calloway, who I know is like a UPW guy typically, who I haven't seen a whole lot of. Actually went to the same high school as me and was in the same year as my brother. I found out that the first time he and I were at the same show, he apparently thought to himself, what's Steve's brother doing here? Which I think is very funny. But he got the character across so quickly when he came out. You knew exactly who he was. And I thought, for a guy debuting here who didn't have any, a massive spot, absolutely nailed his part of it. Bloody DJ in the chat says losing 3 of 4 commentators during the Rumble was hilarious. It was definitely a interesting thing to have to work through. Samuel in the chat.
Now you know why I decided not to commentate this year.
Yeah, that's right. Samuel in the chat says Andre and Sam Cannon both recently appeared at respective PWA shows, which was really cool to see. And, again, everyone who's working on these shows going and showing out how good they are. And Wild Angel says the Purge this year was a showcase of the absolute future of Queensland wrestling. Jamie, what did you think of this Purge match?
I enjoyed it. This was very fun. Like you said, the storyline between Roberto and the ladies was probably my biggest highlight of it, where he was just eliminating everyone. And then Tessa Armstrong shows up, and she's only been in Pro League, 2 or 3 times now?
Yeah, something like that. Very
maybe,
her,
maybe.
Be established so strongly coming in and just wrecking shop once she did arrive. It was like, okay, she's going to be a major player in the women's division. And then I
also the Bull Nakano tribute face paint as well.
Yep.
It was funny because she was putting it on. She was putting it on in the back. I'm like, "Who are you, Bull Nakano?" She's like, "Yes, actually, I was trying to do that." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I've got to say, just quickly, there's this Robert fellow in the chat who says Roberto also had a pretty good stick. If you don't know, everyone who came out with a weapon. Roberto came out with a stick, and you can hear us talking about how good of a stick it is on commentary, right? Roberto would not shut up about this stick all day. It was, as commentators, we say, if there's anything you want us to focus on in the match, let us know. Rob came over to us. You got to talk about how good the stick is. Bury me as a heel, complain about me all you like, but you have to talk about how good this stick is. So if you watch, that's what's going on with the stick. Roberto was obsessed with his stick.
Found a stick. Pretty good stick.
Look, it was a good stick. I can't argue with it. Sorry to interrupt, Jamie.
But yeah, like the Pro League women's division is like quietly really stacked with Eugenie, Mars, Tessa, Billy Mack, Kyla, Christina. There's a lot of potential in that division now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what else did I write down? I loved I think Jesse Love is one that we've all been saying for a long time is going to be all over the place in no time. I love
talk about having the look, right?
And Chris Dink and his tearaway pants.
I love those tearaway pants.
That was great. And then the weapons. Are thongs like the most savage weapon I've ever seen in wrestling? I think they are.
Yeah, that was brutal. Getting the jandal going. My goodness. Now, Todd, I don't know if you've actually seen the Rumble. Did you have any thoughts on it?
No, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really see a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because that was right before.
Yeah, okay. That's all in the build-up to a main event here that was... Honestly, the fact that I got to ring announce this match is really special to me because of what this was, right? So if you haven't been keeping up with Pro Wrestling League, there's and before I go on, Samuel in the chat just says a lot of potential in Queensland women's wrestling, even further north with people like Freak Nix at War and Ebony Angel in QWA. Definitely worth pointing out there. Thank you. Long-term story, Mitch Ryder and Mitch McCarthy have had a long-term feud in Pro Wrestling League. Mitch McCarthy actually retired from wrestling right at the start of this year, or at the very end of last year. So that feud was building, but because of injury, McCarthy retired and kind of wouldn't be in that spot to finish off the feud. And it was all building towards this, Mitch Ryder and Todd Eastman putting their careers in Pro Wrestling League on the line versus Mitch McCarthy's stake as owner in Pro Wrestling League. Now, when that challenge got set out, Mitch McCarthy got to pick an opponent for Mitch Ryder, and he picked Robbie Eagles. So, like, it's not, a stretch to say that Robbie Eagles is the biggest name in wrestling inside Australia, right? He's over in New Japan all the time, but still comes back regularly. He's got the solo PWA title at the same time as an IWGP Junior Tag Team Championship, right? Like, he is really showing Australian wrestling on a world stage while also regularly wrestling in Australia. He's a big deal. And Mitch Ryder is someone that I have been saying for a long, long time is one of the level best that the country has to offer. And I know, Todd says that it's, hard to talk about it all the time because he's Todd's boy, but he is just that damn good, right? And him getting to showcase how good he is very special. I'll also say that I personally have a lot of love for all the people that were involved in this match, right? Robbie is one of the nicest guys in professional wrestling who, after the show, reminisced about the first time I saw him live. He remembered it and spoke to me about how far that's been, right? Mitch is genuinely one of my favorite people I've ever met in wrestling. Sorry to break the heel gimmick there, but there was a face turn in this, so I get to say it. He's one of the nicest men I have ever met in my life. Obviously, I think highly of Todd. I've got so much love for Mitch McCarthy, who's one of the people who, when I first got into local wrestling, was an absolute highlight. Like, everyone there are people I think the world of, and they nailed it. I think that this is probably the best match I've ever seen live, and I saw a Meltzer 5-star match only a couple of months ago in person, right? Like, I think this match was incredible. The fact that I got to ring announce and commentate this is beyond a treat. I was blown away by this, and they nailed, I think, every part of it. We'll talk about the post-match after talking about the match. Jamie, what did you think of Mitch and Robbie?
I thought, like you, it was fantastic. It's the match you want to have if you're trying to get someone to go for a bad guy to a face, with the sort of not so much doing it by being a nice guy, just doing it out of the respect angle and being that damn good and proving how good he is. And the thing that really stood out to me was this being a match where Mitch got to showcase his technical ability as well, not just all of his like high impact flying around the ring moves. It was like, look, I can hang with Robbie, who a lot of people would say is one of the best technical wrestlers in Australia. He hung right there with him and ended up getting the win from a technical move into like a reversal into a quick roll-up pin, which was awesome. And I also have to point out, thank you, Todd, for not succumbing to Robbie's bullying and taking your shirt off.
I know. Nobody wants to see that, especially at the moment. A year ago, might have been trouble, but right now, not so much.
Todd, you were on the outside of this one. What did you think of the in-ring that went on with Mitch and Robbie?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I got lost in the match during it. Like, knowing I didn't have, like, I'd promised going into this match I wasn't going to interfere because to prove he was the best. It made me just sit there and almost just be a cheerleader, because that's really all I could do. Mm-hmm. And when he got the win, that wasn't acting. I legitimately had tears in my eyes, to the point where when I got in the ring, Mitch goes, "You okay?" I'm like, "No, you got me crying." He's like, "Don't do that. I'm going to cry too. We've got a promo. Stop this." So I'm like, just two idiots trying not to cry. But yeah, it's one of those things, because I am so like emotionally attached to Mitch. Like, he is one of my best friends in this business, like, when we feed off each other so well that I just want him to do well. So when I see him in the ring and he's doing all this shit and he's doing it so fucking well, it's a mixture of like amazement, pride, and just like, I don't know how much more I can say. Like that, I don't know if the camera caught it, but that shock on my face when he got the pin, that was a legitimate reaction. Because right up to, like, we all know what wrestling is. We all know that the finish is what the finish is going to be. You really don't think that Robbie Eagles is going to take a pin until it actually fucking happens.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, even though, like, we know, something's going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
But
and the moment when it happens, you just feel the energy in the room hit that shift. It's unreal. I'll call out, the people in the chat who are talking about it. Bloody DJ says the main event was one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. Ryder is the guy. He can do it all. This match just reinforces it. Alex Fireheart says Robbie definitely calls himself the gatekeeper of Aussie wrestling for a reason. Samuel says the match felt like one you could see on an AEW or WWE card in regards to how well it was put together and executed. Alex Fireheart says kind of nice that Mitch gets a win over Robbie after taking the fall in the 2 previous matches they've been involved with together. See, Alex is keeping an eye. He's even talking about the tag match up in QWA. Close attention there, Fireheart. Well done. Yeah. So look, I could talk about this match all day. I think it was absolutely phenomenal. Even if you're not going to watch this whole show, I highly, highly recommend that if you can sit through my voice for the 30 minutes or whatever it is, go to YouTube, check out this match, because it is, I think it's the shit. Like, straight up, I was so impressed by it.
It's so good I watched it twice.
Wow, there's the review from Jamie, worth a rewatch. Let's talk about then what happened storyline after this match, because it involved almost the unthinkable. Mitch Ryder and Todd Eastman turning face after this match. And Ree is exactly right. Or you could just mute Lachlan and still enjoy the show. That's exactly it. What a great plan. So after this match, or the shoe, up to you, Ree. You can enjoy a shoe if you want.
As far as a shoe.
Honestly.
Oh, well, apparently.
So after this, you get Mitch McCarthy come into the ring with the contract and admit that the boy's got it. He signs his name on the dotted line for his half of the company to, sign it over to Todd and Mitch. And Mitch and Todd get that contract, and Todd says, it was never about the company. We didn't want the company. We wanted this show of respect. That's all we ever wanted. We wanted the respect. We want a handshake. And they get that respect. And it takes Mitch, who was in a point where, even though him and Todd are such clear heels, they are so good at pissing you off, that the in-ring is just so good that it was getting to the point where people were cheering, because you can't not cheer someone that good in ring, right? And so here's the moment where it comes all the way out, and he's being respectful, and he's not taking the company, and he's showing that respect back to McCarthy, and the face turn happens. And I really love that moment. And then lights go out. There's a bang, lights come up, and there is the people in the ring have been taken out, and Jesse Daniels is standing there with a chair. Todd Eastman tries to resist, but cops a chair for his troubles, and Jesse Daniels signs his name on the contract and becomes the new half owner of Pro Wrestling League. This was such an interesting wrinkle to the long-term story. Not only that, it fed into the I Quit match where, in the end of the match, Jesse Daniels got the mic and says, Bobby, you've won the battle, I quit. And then when he gets the microphone here, he says, I've won the war, and signs off as the new owner. Like, those little things about planting the seeds. I think that this was such a cool element of storytelling that does exactly what you need a wrestling show to do, which is put enough question marks in the fans' heads that they go, I've got to see what happens next show. I've got to show up next show and see what it's going to be. And I will say, if you are interested in seeing the next Pro Wrestling League show and you're in the Brisbane area, I would grab tickets pretty quickly, because the first match just got announced, and it's for the Pro Wrestling League Championship, and it is Ricky Utomi defending that title against Mick Moretti. So if you're going to get tickets, I would jump on it quick. But let's talk about the actual ending here. Jamie, what did you think of this post-match segment?
It was awesome. I think everyone involved did a great job, even down to Jesse sitting on the stage, and the cameras being on him, and him just go away. I don't want to get him off me. It was such a little thing, but it emphasized just how crazy that moment was for Jesse Daniels to sign the contract. And take part of the company. It's like, oh no, everyone involved is like, what is happening now?
There's some actual extra. I think there's some extra footage out there somewhere where you actually see Jesse get in the ring with us, and like just looks at us going, "This is what you get. Like you had to go around playing these stupid fucking games, and now look what we've got."
Yep.
Which I thought was such a brilliant touch for him.
Yeah, like credit there for somebody who, you know, has spent a lot of time not being in front of the camera, how much he absolutely nailed it, in my opinion. And lots of little touches that I don't know if everything, you know, comes through the camera, but like when Daniels is walking backstage past Jesse, he leans down and says of excited to be working with you, you know, just to like be that extra little bit of a prick going backstage. The character of it is always there. It doesn't drop just because he's not in the ring anymore. He's putting those little touches in. Bloody DJ agrees. It was a great twist. Wild Angel says, I should have let Bobby Bishop splatter Jesse. Thank you there, ref Wild Angel. But yeah, I think that the storytelling here was really fun. You know, Todd, obviously you had some involvement in it.
Well, honestly, the hardest part was trying to get a promo out when you're trying to turn face and you've got people that are still like abusing you. It was really hard because my natural instinct is to turn around and give them a mouthful.
Yep.
And I've realized, like, I've just kind of like, if you could just let me finish this, I really need to get this thing out.
Yeah, this is important.
One chance. Give me one chance.
Yeah, just one chance. I know I've been a complete prick, but I'm trying to change. But that was the whole point of the idea is like we wouldn't have done all the stuff we've done over the journey if we didn't, at the end of the day, love Pro Wrestling League and love like Mitch McCarthy said, where Pro Wrestling League has gotten has been in a large part to the work that Mitch has done and me by his side, but in a large part to the work that the two of us have done, being that big heel, whether it be in the group as top tier or just the two of us, that helps that babyface get their cheers. Yeah. So it's going to be really weird and really different to try and see what we can do.
Try and be nice.
Baby faces. Yeah. Well, yeah. Try to be nice. It's going to be very interesting. I'm like, one part of me fucking hates it because it's so against my normal, like, just way of being I enjoy being a smart ass when I'm out there. I enjoy that back and forth with the crowd. So that bit I'm actually going to miss. But just another challenge. And to be in it for as long as I have been, like 10, 12 years, to have that challenge now, okay, now how do I do this as this character? How does Eastman evolve here in this universe? So it's going to be interesting to see. Like Mitch will be fine because Mitch is fucking amazing.
He's just so good at everything he does.
Yeah. We just have to cheat funny, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. I will also shout out a little bit of a promo that got put together a little bit later, which you can check out on Instagram on a few places, but involving Bobby Bishop and Mitch and Todd going together to storm the office of Jesse Daniels, who is talking to what appear to be his new minions in the form of Team QWA, with one of the best closing lines of a promo I've ever seen, where Trent O'Day somehow keeps a straight face when he says, "Call me the enema because I'm going to go up his ass and cure what ails him." What a line from Trent O'Day. But it is so interesting to see these permutations, right? To see, like Bobby Bishop and Mitch Ryder on the same side. Like, that's really interesting. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. So
it was that quick, like, cliffhanger ending of like, I need to see the next show.
Yeah.
You don't always get that, but this one was one where you go, I'm really excited to see what happens now.
Like, even as someone involved in the show, I'm really excited to see what happens at the next one, because I'm not sure where the story goes from here. I've got some thoughts about what we may or may not see, but really overall, there's so much interesting stuff that could happen out of this. So if you're in the Brisbane area, Saturday the 17th of May at Kedron Wavell at Chermside is Pro Wrestling League Doomsday. As I mentioned, main event is going to be that Pro Wrestling League Championship match between Riki Utomi and Mick Moretti, which is huge. But on top of that, everything else coming out of this storyline is absolutely worth checking out. And if you want to see this, if you were there and you want to re-watch like Jamie did for the main event, if you want to see how all of this played out in actuality, if you want to see all of those different spots in the open weight title Purge Rumble that we didn't get to talk about, you can do it by heading to YouTube, going to Pro Wrestling League's channel, watching Purge Cybernight. There's going to be a link in the description of this podcast if you're listening to the audio version and want to just click straight to it. Or just go to YouTube, hit subscribe on the Pro Wrestling League channel. While you're there, hit subscribe on the Wrestle Radio Australia channel. We're Wrestle Radio Australia on YouTube, on Facebook, and we're at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram. So follow us there. But absolutely, Purge Cybernight is something that I was really proud to be involved with. It was a massive honor for me to, especially do some of the ring announcing and be a little bit solo on commentary for a little while there with Mitch McCarthy. Like that was really special for me because I love what Pro Wrestling League's doing, and I think this is absolutely worth checking out. Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges says, I don't know if it was because I'd vaped an inhumane amount of weed or not, but the stage lighting on the Purge was a lot. That lighting can be a little bit of an interesting one. I know that the last Purge show I was at as a fan, and one of the lights actually dropped out of the ceiling and fell on someone near me. So that was interesting. Shit. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
One of the venue lights, not like, something that had been rigged up. Yeah, out of the roof.
Just like a bulb.
It was just fairly small. It was more like a light cover, but yeah, it was interesting for sure.
I'm thinking like one of the big giant spotlights.
Yeah, so was I.
No, nothing that serious. Just a bit of plastic, I think, really. But yeah, definitely check out Pro Wrestling League's Purge Cybernight on YouTube. And while we're talking about checking out Australian wrestling, let's talk about the Australian wrestling that's coming up this weekend. Special thanks to Michael Lee at the Australian Wrestling Community Facebook page, who we always give a big shout out to Michael Lee, but I will say has been absolutely working his butt off this past week with some things that have gone on in Australian wrestling that we're about to talk about, managing that Australian Wrestling Community Facebook page. So a big shout out to one of the great ring announcers in Australian wrestling and great people, Michael Lee. So if you're in New South Wales on Saturday night, April 26th, there's 3 options for you. Rock and Roll Wrestling has Get the Tables, Pacifica Wrestling Federation has Fuki Slam, and Wrestling Go has the Go Olympic Games 5, all on Saturday, April 26th. If you're in the Northern Territory on Saturday, April 26th, that's right, there's Northern Territory wrestling happening. Top End Wrestling Saturday Night Fights High and Dry is going to be on Saturday night. Here in Queensland, there's a couple of options on Saturday night. IPW, Impact Pro Wrestling Australia, has World of Dreams on April 26th. And Wrestling Allegiance Rockhampton has Deadline on Saturday, April 26th. In South Australia, also on Saturday, ACW, Adelaide Championship Wrestling, has a new era. And in Victoria, PCW has their Royal Rumble on Saturday, April 26th. Looking a little bit into the future, in Victoria, MCW...
Sorry, before you float away there, young...
Go for it, Todd.
I can't remember what his name is now, but anyway. That ACW, Adelaide Championship Wrestling New Era, that is Down Under and Tommy Knight in the main event for that one, which will be really good. That's a whole, like, when they said the New Era, they've had new management takeover in ACW, and looks like the stuff that they're doing there is going to be very interesting to see in the next, year or so.
Absolutely. In Victoria, in the near future, MCW High Stakes is going to be on. MCW High Stakes 2025 is on May 17th. And so far, what we know on that show is Rocky Monero is the next member of the Icons to be faced down by Edward Dusk. after, costing Dusk that chance at becoming the MCW heavyweight champion. Another member of the Icons that's getting faced down is Robbie Thorpe, who is next on the list of the Icons conquering that Jarvis is planning on doing. Lucas Fantasia is going to go one-on-one with Lucky O'Leary. The MCW Inter-Commonwealth title is going to be on the line with Adam Brooks defending against Ryan Rapid, which, match of the night material on any show in the country, right? The MCW Women's Championship is going to be on the line with Eugenie defending against Aisha, but with the special guest referee Erica Reed. And the MCW Tag Team Title #1 Contenders Tournament first round matches will continue with Carlo Cannon and John Wen, the Midnight 2, coming up against the Physicals, Jimmy Castle and Johnny Jets, who we love here at Wrestle Radio Australia. So if you're in Victoria, check mcwtix.com.au, that's mcwtix.com.au, to see if there's any space still available for that, because it would not surprise me to see that one sell out very soon, if it has not already. Now, I'll just say, Sam in the chat says Sam Cannon is returning to WAR for the first time in a while in Rockhampton, so it'll be cool seeing him return in an awesome matchup too. Thank you, Samuel, in the chat for that. Now, I will say, we have a very high number of viewers on the live stream tonight.
Wonder why.
Right? I wonder why. We are going to talk about something that's happened in Queensland wrestling.
This is by the way, Jamie, this is what I imagine Lachlan sounds like when he's at his work talking to his kids, just quietly.
Now, folks, there's a lot going on here. We're going to listen to what Mr. Albert and Mr. Eastman have to say, right? It's, So, if you haven't heard, Roddy Online says just in time for the big news. So, obviously, we're going to go to a break after this and we're going to talk about everything that happened at WrestleMania. We're going to talk about news in the US and a lot of those wrestling companies. There is a whole lot of stuff going on that we need to talk about tonight. But I think there's a lot of interest in the chat that we're about to have. So, I might give a quick intro to what's happening and then pass over to Todd.
Yeah.
All right.
Set the table, my friend.
So, in Brisbane last Saturday night, so this is about 5 nights ago as we record, there was a show put on by Redcastle Wrestling in Fortitude Valley at the Redcastle Entertainment. Thank you. So, Redcastle Entertainment put on a show called Viva Bris Vegas at the Zoo, which is a venue that the AWA and AWL used to run pre-pandemic. That venue then got shut down and it's since been reopened as the Crowbar, and they had an event there. One of the matches that was announced for the card was Toa, a guy that we're a huge fan of, versus the Crimson Lotus. This was set up as a mysterious mystery opponent. They had an Instagram page that said, if you don't know now, it's too late. Mysterious stuff like this, right? I will say that in talking to people who were on the card, they were unaware of who this was. The first indication to some wrestlers on the card of who this was the match card was posted in a private Facebook group in the form of an uploaded PDF. So a little bit difficult to actually get to download and see the night before the event, which meant that a lot of people had not seen the card by the time they arrived at the venue. And that includes interstate talent, right? When people got to the venue or at some point during the day, news came to people that in that match was going to be a wrestler by the name of York. Now, in the show, it turned out that the Crimson Lotus is a faction that is led by Victor Redcastle of Redcastle Entertainment, and York is at the very least a primary member of that faction, right? And had this match with Toa. I am not going to go into a whole lot of specific detail, but York is somebody who has been blacklisted from wrestling more than once, right? I think that's the most even way to put it, is that
in 3 different states,
multiple times there has been accusations leveled at York that he is not somebody that should be booked on shows, and people have stopped booking York, and then he has moved to a different state and attempted to continue. And as Ree says in the chat, and one other country, New Zealand, right? This was found out by most people on the day of the event, right? There was different responses from different people involved. There were wrestlers who said to the promoter that they would not work on a show that had him on it. So it was the promoter's choice whether it was York or them. And in multiple cases, people were pulled from the show and York did work the show. I think that's a fairly level representation of what's happened. Todd, can you give us some info here?
Yeah, well, I'd found out through like various people during the week that he was apparently going to be on the show, which I like straight away. I just didn't believe. I think one of the things I was just like, there is no way they are that dumb as to put him on a show without at least consulting multiple people about it. Turns out they apparently had consulted multiple people about it. And for all reports, from what they were saying, they were fine with it. I've checked with a couple of them. They were not fine with it at all. That's all I'm going to say about it. Like I have, yeah. Anyway, so today, Redcastle Entertainment put up a post in Australian wrestling community. I think also on their page as well. They put up a post and then they deleted the post and then put up another post. I don't know why, and I'm not gonna. It was pointed out the post was AI, and then the post got deleted, and another post got put up. So, and I'm not going to go and throw why this happened. I'm just going to say that this happened. So I'm just going to read out their statements. I'm going to read out both of their statements, and then I will carry on with something else. Okay. The first statement was, "Dear everyone, we want to acknowledge that at our last show, we featured an individual who had taken steps to make amends for his past actions. This person offered a sincere public apology and demonstrated ongoing positive change. Before booking them, we conducted thorough due diligence, including multiple conversations with people from the places they had worked, as well as a third-party criminal background check that came back clear. However, we've heard recent feedback from some of you who still feel hurt by this individual's past. We understand and respect those feelings. To ensure we are handling this situation with the care it deserves, we have decided to suspend this person from future shows while we conduct a more in-depth investigation into the concerns we've heard. At this time, we've primarily received messages that are hurtful and angry. We truly want to foster a constructive dialogue and invite those who have specific accounts or concerns to reach out directly. We are committed to listening and addressing these issues respectfully. Thank you for understanding, and we're dedicated to handling this matter thoughtfully, as we move forward." Now, that was the one that was deleted. Following that, another message was put up, a smaller one, and I'm just going to read that.
I might read that one for you, Todd, if that's all right. Just to keep the flow going. Yeah. Dear everyone, following a message earlier tonight in discussions with this community, we acknowledge the hurt the recent booking decision has caused and will take steps to learn from this situation. Thank you to those who have raised some excellent points in messages to us. We are committed to creating a safe space for all at our shows and will work harder at this in the future.
So to follow up on that, I'd already spoken to, I actually invited Tali to come on the show. And to her credit, she was just like, look, I don't want to seem or make it look like I'm trying to milk this situation or trying to do it for any clout, which I completely understood. Like there was no pressure on her to come on the show. Do you know what I mean? But she said to me, look, if you want to ask me questions, we'll answer the questions and you can relay them. So I'm just going to read the questions I've asked, and then I will read the answer that she gave me. Okay, so this is a conversation with Tali, just so we know. My first question I asked is, when did you learn York was booked? And she said, I found out he was booked on the day while I was at the airport to fly to Brisbane. They had posted the run sheet the night before, which had his name on it. But like any worker, I just opened to see where my match was and then closed the file. At the airport, another wrestler mentioned he was on the show, so that was the first I'd been told. Apparently, he'd been telling people in Queensland that all the Melbourne people were informed prior, which is not the case. I said, what did you say when you confronted them over this? On the plane, I sent one of the promoters a message explaining that I only just found out, and if I had been told earlier, I would have given them more notice, but I did not feel comfortable being on the same show as him, both from a personal and professional standpoint, and that I would not do the show if he was on it. The reply I received was, we'll talk about this at the venue. I was sat down backstage by myself and facing both promoters, so it was both of them and only me, and they opened with telling me all the ways they're not about cancel culture and have been actively and vocal in defense for wrestlers in the past who have felt uncomfortable, and then asked why I didn't feel comfortable with him on the show. After I explained my viewings, they explained that it was never a legal matter or that he'd never been charged. So it was all he say, she say, and that they believed him. They told me he had been going into anger management and had found God and had acknowledged his wrongdoings. I told them that was all great, but I still wasn't doing the show with him, to which they told me he was going to be on the show regardless. I asked, did they try and somewhat intimidate you into working anyway? And she said, I wouldn't say intimidate, but they definitely tried to guilt trip me into it. They expressed how fans had come to see me and that now Tessa won't have a match, and that they had spent money for me to be here, to which I explained that was all true and I was excited to work with Tessa and see the fans, but it was not going to change my mind. I said, how did they treat you straight after? Once it was 100%, so she said, once it was 100%, I wasn't going to be doing the show. They said due to everything, I wasn't allowed backstage, but I was welcome to hang around the ring while I waited for someone to get me. Keeping in mind, I had been flown here, so I had no transport. Plus I was meant to be staying with them that night. They had never asked me if I had somewhere else to stay, only asked if I had someone to get me. Oh, I forgot that to add, after the meeting when I wasn't allowed backstage, they said to stop me from causing more of a disturbance than I already had. I asked, because I heard a rumor, did they really ask you to reimburse them for flights? During the meeting, they asked me to pay back. So she said, during the meeting, they asked me to pay back some of or all of the flight money, to which I said no. A little while later, one of them came back to me and said that they were annoyed and frustrated when they asked, so they weren't going to expect me to pay, but that I wasn't going to get a match fee. Oh, yes, and they told me that it was a last-minute decision, which is why no one was told. Someone else had pulled out, so he was a last-minute addition. So that is it, soup to nuts, of the conversation I had with Tale. And that was a lot of me talking.
Okay. I want to be a little bit down the middle on this, but I am going to talk for a minute because straight up, I am pissed off about this, right? And I'm trying to stay calm and stay fair to all involved, but I'm pissed off, okay? I am glad to hear that York is making positive movements. When somebody has been barred from wrestling, not once, but in multiple states, when people have had problems with him multiple times, to the point where he is known as someone who people do not want to work with, having him involved in your promotion is stupid. Just straight up stupid, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a surprise that there's going to be backlash to the booking. In fact, I strongly believe that the people involved, the two promoters here, who I will say are a couple, they knew very well that this was not going to be a popular booking. And the fact that that he was not announced, I think, reflects that they were aware of that, right? It would be a very different conversation if they had advertised York on the show, right? Mm-hmm. And Ree in the chat says they knew it was an unpopular decision because he was used on Ring Crew and people voiced that annoyance. So even before he's wrestling, there is concerns about him being involved, right? I think that there are people involved in this who are trying to be good people and show that they believe in the good of others. And I think there are people involved in this who are being manipulated by York, as he has done in the past, in order to find success in what he wants to do, right? I'm going to come out and, like, really honestly, there are people who are close to York who I love and respect a lot, who I think have been taken advantage of by him, right? It is their choice to stand beside him or whatever. But I am in a position where I cannot abide by anyone putting York on a wrestling show. It puts people at risk, right? York
Here's the thing. Okay, look, this is like coming from my standpoint and my belief as a person who works in professional wrestling in Australia, in professional wrestling, whatever. Professional wrestling and being able to perform is a privilege, not a right. And it's very, very nice that you've gone all these that you've found God and you've done anger management courses and you've done all that sort of stuff. But when you have done these things over the course of, like, through Victoria, through Western Australia, through Adelaide, through New Zealand, I'm very happy that you're on the path to change, and I hope you become a better person of it. But the penance for doing all of that is you lose the privilege to wrestle again. Straight up. You lose the privilege to be backstage where you could make people feel uncomfortable because of your past. And I hate to say it, but it's your own actions that did this, not anyone else's. And there's a very good reason why he's been up here in Queensland for a fair while now and not been on any other show, because no one else in Queensland wrestling will touch him for very good reasons. Queensland wrestling has come a long way in the last 6 to 8 years. And they are, like myself, a lot of people are very proud of how our backstages are very, very harmonious. Everybody seems to get along backstage. It's very much a family feeling. Everybody's worked very, very hard for that. And we don't want to take a back step now, especially for someone who has done the things that this person has done. And I'm very happy that he's apparently changing his mindset and his ways, and that's great. Do that when you can't now, because you can't wrestle. Okay, that's your punishment. You don't get away from things scot-free in this world, unfortunately. Sometimes you have to pay the piper, and the piper's telling you can't wrestle anymore, at least for reputable wrestling promotions. And I'm not saying that Red Castle isn't a reputable wrestling promotion, but they haven't exactly covered themselves in glory on this instance.
Yep. I want to add that, and Ree in the chat has said, quite honestly, I cannot even convey enough words of my extreme disappointment I feel regarding this.
Yes.
Disappointment.
I don't know.
Is a great word.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm really holding my anger in on this.
Yeah, Todd
because
and I both.
I want to be fair. I want to be fair to them, because I know, like, deep down, like, Karina and Heath are good people. So this is why I think it found it more baffling to me that this has happened.
Karina and Heath being the promoters of Red Castle Entertainment, right?
Yes. So somebody wants to hear a take from Jamie. So,
well, I'm totally in agreement with you guys. I have been firsthand witnessed abusive relationships and abusive people in the past, and this is like textbook manipulation. Tell everyone you've changed, everything's good, and then behind closed doors it's all back to the same stuff. So I agree with everyone. Like, that's it. You've lost your chance to be involved in this world now. Awesome, you are making changes for yourself. But like Todd said, you've lost the advantage of being able to be involved in this hobby at this point.
It's a fucking privilege. What we get to do is a privilege.
And also, like from a business standpoint, Tali has over 10,000 followers on Instagram. Was recently promoted by Seth Rollins, the major player in WWE. Why would you choose York over her? There were people that were specifically going to this show to see Tali.
Yeah, and you can't tell me that there's not 100 people that they could have called up in the last minute, if it was the last minute.
Yep.
And said,
look at the Pro League Rumble. You could have pulled any one of those people and have had just as great a show, if not better.
And honestly, straight up, Tali is not the only person who pulled out of this show. Multiple people pulled out. And I'm going to be straight up here. Every one of the people who I heard pulled out is a better worker than York. Right? So regardless of anything else, the in-ring work of somebody who, for at least a couple of years, has not been wrestling and, to the best of my knowledge, not been doing any wrestling training, versus all of the people who will not work a show with York on it, and all of the people who will now not take a booking from Red Castle Entertainment because they know that they cannot be trusted to not pull something at the last minute, is ridiculous. Right?
And
yeah, they have a lot of work to do to rebuild.
The fact that they even posed the idea of Tali paying them back for the flights, that's ridiculous. If you were concerned about this person being on the show and people potentially pulling out, maybe at least tell the people you're flying in.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll bring up a message that...
And again, sorry, before you do, for the other wrestlers that are on this card that still wrestled the show and didn't pull out, and no ill will towards them whatsoever, because a lot of them are probably younger guys or worried about what might have happened, might get a bad reputation because I pulled out at the last minute. There are a lot of like stuff that people don't realize in the past. You know what I mean? They don't. A lot of people, things that people get worried about, if I do this here, somebody's not going to book me there, blah, 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 blah. Not the case at all. If you were standing up for somebody, standing up for something that you believe is right, and you have a proper reason for it, not just, oh, man, I got pretty fucking smashed the night before, I didn't want to show up. Like, if there's a proper reason, nobody is going to get mad at you. Nobody. Because I had wrestlers message me to ask. And I was like, it is 100% your decision. You will get no heat from me if you pull out. You will get no heat from me if you stay in it. I completely understand where you are in your career.
I had people message me to, like, you know, say their side of the story because they were worried about, not because I'm booking anything, not because, you know, just because genuinely they were blindsided on this and they were worried that it was going to reflect badly on them that they were on the card with this guy. Right? Like, seriously. And Samuel Tabone in the chat says a few friends drove 9 hours to find out when they arrived at the show. I will say I got a message from one of those people. Right? Like, they said, we drove hours and then got there and found out that he was there. Trent in the chat says, I'm sorry, but can we just acknowledge that the only winner in this situation was York? Literally no one else. He got to wrestle. That's the most disappointing thing of all of it. York was the fucking winner. And put excellently, Trent. Like, this is the shits. This is the shits. And like,
and yet the way it was promoted too, it's not a, oh, he's here, let's use him. Like, it was clearly premeditated and planned of, if we're going to use him, it has to be in this secretive mystery character role.
Exactly right. Sorry, Andy has a point there. We skipped over. You wanted to read out the thing that Ree said before, unfortunately.
Yes. Ree said, Red Castle Entertainment have demonstrated that they are not interested in fostering a safe working environment when they opt to deal with someone that has displayed patterns of inappropriate behavior and ask someone who expresses concerns to leave so they wouldn't cause more of a disturbance. They violated my trust. I do not trust them. As a consumer, I will not be giving them my money. Ever. And absolutely spot on take there, Ree. Like, it's, yeah, just ridiculous. And I'm saying the same thing that Todd is saying. I know the promoters, and I think of them as genuine good people, right? I am so disappointed by this, and I have purposely not spoken to them about it because I will not be able to speak to them respectfully about this right now. This is not something that I can just have a conversation about and smooth out. This is disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yeah. They have a lot of work to do, and a 2 or 3 paragraph like statement will not be it.
Yep. That's it. All right. I think we're going to move on. I think we're going to go to a bit of a break so we can come back and be a little bit happier and talk about.
Sorry, before you do, just read this, please.
Trent saying, here's my plug from Twitter. I'm out. Love you, boys. The whole York Redcastle thing from this weekend fucking sucked. So allow me to use this moment to lift the spirits of those who may be iffy on Queensland right now. Come and wrestle in Townsville at QWA. We keep the shit out so you can get your shit in. Lovely, Trent.
Right.
And look, it is not. And that promotion is not indicative of Queensland wrestling at all. Because the fact of the matter is, he's been up here for I don't know how long. No one has even looked at him, sniffed him, wanted him around. Very good reason for that. This is not a Queensland wrestling thing. Queensland wrestling has come leaps and bounds, and I'm so fucking proud of what Queensland wrestling is, which made me so fucking angry when this happened.
And I want to address something Ree has said again, because Ree is nailing it. In addition to their refusal to address any comments publicly and filter it all privately so they can control the narrative and rewrite the discourse. Right? So I also want to mention, I have been told that at the show meeting, it was said, we know that there are some concerns around a booking here. We're not going to address it. We're not going to talk about it. Like, that was the response on the night. Right? So, yeah, there's no surprise.
And I'm not defending them at all. But at that moment, they were probably an absolute shitstorm coming at them, and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. We're going to talk about WrestleMania. We're going to talk about things that we loved coming out of wrestling, because Australian wrestling and wrestling around the world is great. And things like this are the exception, not the rule. Right? So we're going to come back and be a little bit more positive right after this.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, for someone your age, you've got to be, like, so, I don't know about intimidated, not intimidated, but so, like, excited for the fact that AEW sort of, like, put as much.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
You know, I'm trying to word it.
No, I get it. No, you've nailed it for sure. I think being 26 years old and in this position that I'm in, like, it surreal is the best way I can describe it. Like, but yeah, just grateful that I have this trust, grateful that I'm not out of place in that match, like that, all of it. It's very cool. Very, very cool.
And especially since, like, you're not really, as much as we're like, he's 26 years old, he's in this thing, you're not exactly an overnight success.
No.
Either. Like, you work through PWA,
of course,
going to England, going to Japan.
It's been a journey, man.
Like, back and forth. And then when the pandemic hit,
exactly.
Just like, it must have been just like, at that point, you're like, I've done all this work. Is all that going to go to waste now?
That's exactly how it felt. Yeah. I mean, man, yeah, COVID was, I mean, not arguably, it was the hardest time of my life, man. Like, I spent, what was it, 2020? I moved there 2017. So 3 years of, like, this work, and everything felt
you guys were really on the brink.
Close. Yeah. We were so close to getting to New Japan, so close to, like, in my head, we'd get to New Japan, and then it was just, like, smooth sailing from there, right? And we were just on the cusp. Davis got injured, and it was like, oh, okay, as soon as Davis is back, we're going to New Japan, and then it's, like, smooth sailing from there, and then it's pandemic. there's no wrestling in the UK. I have to move back to Australia. I have to get a job in a warehouse. Like you cannot imagine how like defeating that felt. Like putting all this work in to just have it feel like it was completely stripped away. But man, I could not be more grateful that it didn't take too long to get the ball back rolling again. I'm very blessed to be where I am.
Seeing like one of the probably best matches I've seen live was Aussie Open Velocities in PWA before you. I think it was like the last show before you went away.
It actually did maybe end up being the last one. No, I think we did one more after. We wrestled Lightspeed Express as the tag champs. That would have been the last one. Because it was...
No, didn't you drop it to...
No, because they went back into lockdown. Yeah, they went back into lockdown. So we were supposed to wrestle the Velocities again for the belts before we went, but everything locked down back in Sydney. So we were like, oh, I guess we're taking these belts with us now. So yeah, I mean, like in wrestling, everything works out how it's supposed to. We got to take the Australian belts and defend them in the UK and all that stuff, and then come back and drop them to Velocities again. But yeah, it all works out.
So it must have been nice for you to see the Velocities in the Super Juniors this year.
Yeah, it was very
very
heartwarming.
Every time that when we talk about on the show matches coming up for PWA, and like they just had a match against the regime.
Yeah.
And I think I was like, they're going to be great because they're basically the same as what Aussie Open are for them. They can be a perfect base for them. Yeah. Then it turned out it was an amazing match as well.
Not surprised.
It's sort of like, for me anyway, when I'm doing these things, like your match with Velocity is like the standard that I would say, like, this is what they have the chance to be this good.
Yeah.
They're going to have to work really hard to be this good.
I feel you. No, the Velocities, I mean, even before we got to wrestle them, I knew that they were pretty special. So I think it was one of those situations where it's very hard for people to break out of Australian wrestling a lot. I think unless you are willing to upend your life and move to another country, like getting out of Australia is so hard. It's so hard to get noticed, whatever. So yeah, to see them finally keep plugging away, keep being as good as they've always been, to finally get that opportunity to go to Japan and stuff. Yeah, it was very rewarding for myself.
Yeah, and now the how different now is your approach to wrestling now that you are primarily a singles competitor? Because it's like you don't have that. Like you're in amazing shape anyway, but your cardio has to be completely different.
Sure. Yeah, it's more so than like the cardio or any of that stuff. It's when you're in a tag team, you always have someone to bounce ideas off, and someone to like every idea with a tag team. It's like you pitch it to each other and you go, I have this idea for this, what do you think? And then you workshop it, and then you have like someone to bounce ideas back and forth off. Whereas for me, this character, my matches, everything, it's all what I want to do. Yeah. And I'm not used to having that, like, I wouldn't say full control, but
your partner, they've got the same idea of making it look as good as it can for you guys. Whereas if you're doing it with your opponent, they're like, that might make me look the best.
Luckily I don't wrestle anyone that's like that, thankfully. But yeah, it's just a completely different creative process, which I think is more so the thing that is a challenge for me, that is new for me. It's that like trusting my own instincts and trusting my own ideas and almost going through that same creative process, but just in my own head and bouncing back and forth off the walls type thing. Yeah.
And I took your wise man.
I took a wise man from Roman Reigns.
I beat you and I took your best friend. And
I stole CM Punk's best friend.
You finally got your WrestleMania main event and I beat you.
I am the winner of the main event of WrestleMania.
Thanks for the lovely unexpected edit there, Todd.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus. Todd, okay, let's get this out of the way. Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show, where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And yes, Todd was right. All right.
Oh, I never get tired of hearing that.
Clip it. we've got the WrestleMania 41 weekend predictions that we made just this show last week about the whole weekend. And coming in third place with a very respectable 11 correct predictions is Jamie Apps. Narrowly beating him out with 12 is me. But the overall winner with 14 correct predictions, including a clean sweep of Mania Night 1, and to put the cherry on top, basically predicting Seth Rollins' promo on Raw, Todd Eastman. Well done with your predictions, Todd.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, mate. After night 1, I was sort of like in my, because I didn't write any of it down. In my head, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I picked night 1. Pretty sure. I think I did a clean sweep. I think I did a clean sweep. Because I knew none of you would pick Seth.
Yep, Jamie and I both picked Punk and Gunther as winners of the matches on night 1. There were a couple of other places where, other than that, we all agreed for the other matches on Mania Night 1. There were a couple of other places we all agreed and got it right. One was Ricky Saints, one was Hank and Tank, one was Dark State. I'm going to go through the proper results very soon, but this is just for the people playing along at home with the predictions game. A couple of other individual wins. I managed to pick Obafemi and Sol Ruka as winners for NXT. We also had both Todd and Jamie getting Cena and Io as winners of the title matches on night 2. Todd and I both got Dom as the new IC champ and Logan Paul beating AJ Styles, although I will note that Jamie's answer was AJ Styles, please. So I don't know if that was him using his full predicting power there. Jamie also predicted that Drew McIntyre was going to get the win over Damian Priest. So that's where kind of the differences lie there. So overall, a great predictions game with a narrow margin of victory, but congratulations for Todd, especially for that little extra show-off that he clearly had to do afterwards by editing that promo together with his prediction of the promo.
The prediction of the show was one thing. The prediction of the promo after the show, that's like a lap of honor.
Yeah.
I did like a victory lap around you guys on that one.
So,
supposed to be a good guy now, Todd.
Yep.
I was
and
good,
Alex
mate. Did you not see the That's fucking great.
Alex Fireheart says, going with my heart rather than my head cost me quite a bit for WrestleMania predictions thing I participated in. Yeah, absolutely, Alex. I feel that in a couple of places, and I'm sure Jamie feels it about Styles. Let's now go through the card from WrestleMania Night 1 and Night... Well, let's go through Stand and Deliver just quickly. I'll be honest, I have only had chance to watch bits and pieces because, as we all know, WrestleMania weekend is ridiculously stacked. So in the pre-show, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley managed to defeat the teams of Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, Fatal Influence, and Meta-4 to become the number 1 contenders for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Ricky Saints beat Ethan Page to retain the NXT North American Championship. Hank and Tank became the new NXT Tag Team Champions by defeating Fraxium. Sol Ruka managed to win the ladder match for the NXT Women's North American Championship, defeating Izzy Dame, Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, Thea Hale, and Zarya. In a 6-man tag match, Dark State beat the D'Angelo family. In a fatal 4-way match for the NXT Women's Championship, Stephanie Vaquer retained over Julia, Jada Parker, and Jordan Grace. And in a triple threat for the NXT Championship, Obafemi retained over Javon Evans and Trick Williams. I will say, from what I've seen, the highlight of this show, no question, is Hank and Tank versus Fraxium, which was just a return to form for great NXT Tag Team Championship matches that just make you get out of your seat and yell, yes! Did either of you guys have anything that you wanted to highlight from this show?
Sorry, there's a big rumor that Fraxium might be showing up as a tag team with the faction of Heyman and Rollins and that, with Axiom actually not having the mask.
A Kid potentially going unmasked. That would be very interesting. So worth keeping an eye on, and we'll talk more about that Rollins and Heyman faction very soon. Moving to WrestleMania Night 1 with the opening match, Jey Uso defeating Gunther in just over 16 minutes by submission to become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I thought this match was fine. It's not what I wanted from a Gunther match on WrestleMania. I think a lot of people were saying that it was an absolute floater, let's say, as a way to kick off WrestleMania. I think my problem is that Jey Uso still wrestles like a tag team wrestler, and he's got the psychology of a tag team guy. And I just wanted Gunther to be beating the piss out of someone, and I didn't quite get that. But I'm fine with Jey as the champion. What's?
Was it the 65,000 that were there? Didn't seem to mind it.
Yeah, it got a response. Jamie?
Yeah, it was fine. Not my cup of tea, but people enjoyed it. So good for them.
Yeah.
But then again, like if you saw the follow-up for the night after with Gunther, seems exactly like what I said he was going to do. He's just going to come back as an absolute fucking monster now, chasing that title.
Oh yeah. And Nicolia says, a year ago, Gunther seemed like a huge mountain for Sammy to climb. This year, he just felt like another guy. Definitely something to be said there. The WWE World Tag Team Championship changed hands as the New Day defeated the War Raiders in a match that I thought was very enjoyable. I don't know that it felt like a WrestleMania match. It definitely just felt like New Day versus the War Raiders that could be a main event of SmackDown.
Yeah,
but
they really should have swapped this. They should have swapped this with the match that they booked on SmackDown.
This week. The TLC match for the other tag team titles. I'll tell you what, though, they got their money's worth from Clash Royale as advertisers here, dressing up Eric and Ivar as characters from Clash Royale.
Yep. At least it kind of matched. Like it kind of did. Same thing with Drew.
Yeah,
Drew's kind of worked as well.
Yeah, I actually liked Drew's a lot. Jade Cargill defeated Naomi in a match where I think a lot of people did not enjoy this match. I think there were spots that didn't work, and there are spots where Jade showed that she's still a bit green. But I thought the storytelling of this one and the vast majority of the match was really fun, really enjoyable. It was a bit goofy as far as the entrance for Jade went, with the Weather Channel host talking about the storm that was coming in. But I had a good time with this one. Jamie?
Yeah, it didn't really fit with the storyline of this like bitter, oh, you attack me revenge thing. It was just a match.
Yeah, but then again, you got to think about it. She's been beating the tar out of her for how many weeks?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually thought this was a good match. I thought Naomi did a lot. Like Naomi showed exactly how far she's come as a worker to have the match that she had with Jade in this one. So like it made me look forward to seeing what they're going to do with Naomi now that they've sort of like really. I love her new music too. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good.
That really like heavy thrumming. Yeah. Like it was really cool.
Yeah. The good difference.
Yeah. In a WWE US title match, LA Knight lost the United States title to Jacob Fatu, which I feel like was basically the only decision they could have. And I think this just looked like a showcase for Fatu. I think he looked excellent and he did everything he needed to do. Todd?
Yeah. They're actually doing with Fatu what they should have done with LA Knight when he was hot.
Yeah, agree. Jamie?
Strike while iron's hot rather than wait 6 months.
Yep, absolutely. Unfortunately, Rey Mysterio was taken out with injury on Friday Night SmackDown, so needed a last-minute replacement. But luckily, Rey Fenix has recently made his WWE debut, and with his brother crying with pride over off to the side, he made his WrestleMania debut against El Grande Americano, who got the win here using a loaded mask in a match that I thought was really excellent fun. It had the heel shenanigans. I think it was at the right place in the card to be something a little bit flippy, a little bit goofy. I thought both of these guys nailed everything that they were doing, and it was a good showing for both. Jamie?
Yeah, in line with the El Grande Americano, it was the caffeine hit that they needed in the middle of the show.
Yes, exactly. Todd?
Should we just talk about the news that sort of broke right before that show, though? Right before WrestleMania?
let's talk about that. This is a good place to add it in because involved in this match was a little bit of interference from Vikingo, known AAA competitor, and news broke over the weekend. In fact, on the pre-show to WrestleMania, the WWE has bought AAA. The acquisition's in partnership with Philippe, Mexican sports and entertainment holding company. No details were announced yet in terms of purchase price, key terms, and the company's existing content and future events, but it was announced just after a Worlds Collide event that was announced for Money in the Bank Day, in fact, which is going to be between NXT and AAA. So clearly a working relationship established there as AEW works with CMLL. I'll pass to Todd first. Todd, what do you think of this acquisition?
I've noticed that because they've done the acquisition in a partnership, I'm feeling this is their way of getting around the whole
antitrust.
Yeah, antitrust stuff. So, like, we talked about it last week. Like, could they be looking at something like buying New Japan? If they did the same sort of a partnership with a Japanese holding company as well and just have interest in it, there's a lot to see going forward. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with certain people that are on the AAA roster. Like,
there is a rumor going around, which, as far as I can see, has currently not been confirmed. But the AAA Mega Champion currently is Alberto Del Patron, also known as Alberto Del Rio, who is not somebody that WWE has the highest fondness for in terms of some stuff that's happened with his reputation outside the ring. So interesting to see what happens there as he's, right now holding that top title.
Yeah, and apparently there's the lead commentator for Triple R or however you want to say it, has a podcast himself and said on their podcast this week that they haven't heard anything going forward. As far as they know, everything going forward, storylines, shows, like booked events, are all staying the same right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's going to be a hell of a lot of change in AAA. Maybe just like help in certain areas. And because I think that's a smart move for WWE if they want to do it. Don't go in there and try and be WWE in Mexico. Go in there and let Mexico. Is the luchador has been in charge for domestic? I don't think he works there anymore, Nick. I don't think he's worked there for a little while. I'm not too sure though. Sorry,
I believe that's correct. So Nick Galea is referring to the ex-partner of Stephanie Vaquer, who had been jailed for domestic violence. And that is something that I don't believe he's currently there, but I know was associated with that roster, yeah. So, and I agree with what you're saying, Todd. Like, Mexico does not necessarily just want WWE there. There's like a very specific type of crowd that companies like AAA and CMLL, bring in, and they're companies that respond to that lucha style, right? And Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges nails it. He's in jail. He's not working there. El Cuatero. Thank you, Nick Galea, hasn't worked anywhere for a while. He is still technically under contract, says Nick Galea, but has not been working there. So
I'd imagine that might change, though.
Yeah, that might get up.
And Ree is exactly right. It's more than DV. That was murder. Fireaxe in the chat says, do we get a WWE version of Lucha Underground now? So talked about this with some people as well. The rights of Lucha Underground are still in a very weird place because as much as AAA kind of owned Lucha Underground was also kind of owned by the El Rey Network, who were doing the broadcasting, who were doing the filming and all that stuff, right? So it's not now the rights are with WWE. It's a bit more complicated than that.
But is that the rights that WWE bought then? Remember we heard that rumor that WWE bought the rights to Lucha Underground? Did they buy them off El Rey?
It's possible, right? And that could be the reason that, there were all of these rumors circling.
The bits and pieces that they needed to before they got the big piece.
Yeah.
Regardless,
well, now Jeff Cobb shows up as fucking...
As Matanza. But like,
which would actually be fucking sick.
Just quietly. It would be cool. It also likely makes things a lot easier for guys like Penta and Phoenix, who for a long time have had rights issues around their names, right? The reason Phoenix goes by Ray Phoenix is because technically the name Phoenix is trademarked by AAA from when he was working there. It's the same as Penta is going by Penta. His original name, Pentagon Jr., is actually a AAA trademark. Right? So there was a lot of rights issues going back and forth. So I imagine that for talent like that, this is actually fantastic news that legally they're kind of under the same umbrella. A few people talking about the potential of Lucha Underground stuff in WWE. Fyrax says Penta versus Chelsea Green finished the story, and Wild Angel wants to see the return of Grave Consequences, which oh man, I love Lucha Underground so much. It's the best. All right. Well, let's be clear. It wasn't the best in a lot of ways. I loved watching Lucha Underground is what I mean. Let's move on with what's going on WrestleMania, and that includes a WWE Women's title match where Tiffany Stratton retained her title over Charlotte Flair in a match where I was really frustrated that the two of them wore very similar outfits as tan blonde women. And one of them was in pink and blue, and one of them was in pink and silver. And that was a terrible move. I did not like that at all. Right? I was sitting with someone who, has not been actively watching wrestling, and they had a nightmare of a time telling the difference between the two. Jamie, what did you think of this match?
Yeah, on their gear, I hated it because is that the style that Charlotte has been wearing recently, or did she change up her style of gear so that it
feels like that new gear specifically?
Like it looked like a really bitchy move to come out and be like, look, I'm doing your thing.
Todd?
Which
maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'll tell you what though, like if you wanted two people to look like they were in a fight, Tiffany looked like she was in a fight by the end of it.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
I legitimately thought she'd done a me by the end of the match, but it turns out it was just like lipstick on her.
Yeah, it looked like she's totally taken a tooth out.
Yeah, so I was like, oh shit, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Wild Angel says, I knew one day Charlotte's no-look super kick was going to hurt someone. Thankfully, it seems like it wasn't too bad. Alex Fireheart said...
it was a decent match.
It was, yeah, I don't think it was too bad. I thought it was like quite interesting back and forth. Alex Fireheart says, didn't see night one. Did Tiffy come out to Barbie Girl? If not, missed opportunity. She didn't come out to Barbie Girl, but she did come out in a Barbie box with a Barbie dream house behind her with two other Barbie boxes next to her that had videos of herself in different outfits, which I thought was a fantastic WrestleMania.
Yeah, her entrance.
It's like, can we talk about that set? You know you're selling tickets when you have to sell tickets on your set.
Yeah. Yeah. The set was really wide and it had fans on either side of the big stage
and on top.
Either side of the entrance ramp, all the way on top. It was unreal. It was really cool.
It had like a private media box type deal, and then it had just standing room on top of it. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few people that I was with who were laughing about the fact that when Cody Rhodes came out, he was going to set a lot of fans on fire with his pyro. They did have to like strategically place the pyro not too close to fans who were up there where the pyro would normally fire from. So that was really cool. Main event of night one. Seth Rollins defeats CM Punk and Roman Reigns in about 33 minutes, where there was a match and then there was the ending sequence. And I thought the match was a fantastic WrestleMania triple threat main event. And the ending sequence is exactly what you want for big storyline stuff at WrestleMania. So you had everyone down in the ring, Heyman on the outside. Heyman grabs a chair and goes over to the apron, and both Punk and Roman are down reaching out for the chair. And Heyman looks conflicted and then slides the chair to CM Punk.
Do you know what I love? Sorry, do you know what I love about that though? I don't know if this was a on purpose callback or not. But when Lesnar was having his feud with Roman, and Paul slid the belt right into the middle of the ring,
yep.
instead of one way or the other. Where this way, he literally made a choice.
Yep. I picked up on that as well. Very nicely done. Slid the chair directly to Punk, climbed into the ring, started apologizing to his tribal chief as he stood next to Punk, and then when Punk moved forward to get the chair blow, hit the low blow on Punk, grabbed the chair, presented it to his tribal chief, who used the chair to deliver a sickening blow to CM Punk. Heyman pointed out that Rollins was on the other side of the ring. Roman moves over to do the exact Shield-style chair shot, and once again, Heyman drops to his knees and hits the low blow with joy on Roman Reigns, takes the chair, smiling, presents it to CM Punk, who's standing there smiling.
Seth Rollins.
To Seth Rollins, thank you, who's standing there smiling, presents the chair to Rollins. They take out the competition, and Seth gets the win, standing next to a smiling Heyman, who... Let's also quickly address what happened on Raw when Seth showed up with Heyman. We're jumping forward a little bit here, but relevant to the story. As Seth came out to celebrate with Heyman, and Todd predicted much of what he said, there was a bit of interference by Roman Reigns, who tried to make an attack, but he was fought off by, it seems to be, a new disciple alongside Rollins and Heyman in the form of Bron Breakker, managing to take out Roman to even the odds. So if that's, a little faction there, that's a lot of star power. Rollins, Heyman, Breakker, that's huge. And if we're potentially hearing that, you might also have A-Kid and what's the other guy in Fraxium's name? Nathan Fraser. Thank you. Like, that could be a really incredible stable. What did we think? I'll start with Jamie, of this night one main event triple threat.
That was my favorite match on the card. I did have a little bit of an issue with Heyman rolling in after he gave them the chair. I was like, what is he doing? Like, he's clearly going to turn on Punk. I was like, oh, that kind of pulled me out of it in that moment. So like, why would you get in the ring after you did that? So apart from that, it was awesome.
Yeah, but that was to telegraph, because you didn't think he was going to turn on Roman, did you? Once he'd done that, he's made his choice.
I don't watch enough.
I think like the way that it could have been, and like this is getting really picky, the choreography could have been that if you had the kind of looking at it on the screen, right, from hard cam, if the top left had Seth, the bottom left had Punk, and the top right had Reigns.
So you wanted to sort of just frame Heyman out till he got in the ring, right?
Yes, and then you could have Heyman climb stairs up into the corner and get in the ring and be in that bottom right corner, and then literally be standing there with the chair looking at both of them, and then physically hand it to Punk rather than slide the chair in. Then he could have that same thing but already be in the ring. But like, I think so much of it was done in such a clever way because, like Todd said, it was the same framing that we saw where he slid the title in to turn on Lesnar by not having a preference, and he made that choice. Yeah, like I agree with you, Jamie. This was an absolute banger, I thought. Todd?
I loved the two different ways he sold the turn. Like, he sold the turn on Punk and was genuinely upset he had to do it. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, you made me do this. You made me do this. And with Roman, he was angry when he did it. He's like, you fucking deserve this. You left me with the bloodline. You did all this stuff, all this shit that Rollins had said had happened to me over the last year that he'd been gone. You did this, and this is why. And then you put your hands on me.
And then he had that shit-eating grin when he was standing next to Seth as well. So, like, he fully played into all of the character beats. I thought that was a great main event. Let's talk about night two, which opened with a match that just blew me away. Io Sky managing to retain her women's world title in a triple threat against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley in exactly what a triple threat match should be. Lots of moments where you had two wrestlers going at it, but constantly having to keep an eye out for that third person who kept interjecting. And then sequences where all three were stringing moves together against each other, ending up with, you know, a pin breakup by Io Sky hitting that moonsault, you know, directly onto Bianca. I loved this match. I thought it was fantastic. Todd?
Yeah, no, Andy knocked on the head. That was that was the best match of the weekend period. I love that match. The sequencing, the selling, and even like the little touch of normally when Bianca hits that fucking whip crack, like that whip crack thing with
the ponytail,
and then into the finish. That's it. That's usually been the end of most of those big matches for her. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was so good. I understand because like I said, they had to find a way to move. It doesn't look like they've moved it because it looks like Io's still going to have Rhea chasing her. But just a great match. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. What a way to start that second night. But the way that started, I was like, oh, fuck, we're in for a night now.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's probably fairly agreed that I think night 2 was the better night overall. And starting it like this was, you know, a way to hit that pace.
If you could have taken night 1's main event and put it on night 2, then you would have had one shit card and one great card.
Yep. Yeah. Like, other than that main event from night 1, night 2 felt like WrestleMania, right? Yeah. Night 1 felt like a show, and night 2 felt like WrestleMania. Jamie, what did you think of this triple threat?
It was easily the best match of the weekend. Perfect way to start off a show and really signal that tonight is the in-ring night, and it's going to be very different to all of the story stuff we saw yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to do 2 nights, make them different.
Yeah.
Not just more of the same.
That's a great way to put it. A Sin City street fight had Drew McIntyre managing to defeat Damian Priest. Jamie, what did you think of this carnage?
I didn't see much of this one. I had to do something. Don't know what I was doing.
Fair enough. Todd?
It's just a string of those matches that Drew has. Like he had him with Gunther, he had him with Sheamus. Now he's having him with Damian Priest. The 2 dudes beating the ever-loving shit out of each other and not holding back, which is great. It's a great different to the rest of the card.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did see the selfie spot. I liked the selfie spot.
Yeah, my wife was just like, what's he doing? And then I literally opened up X and went, that's what he's doing.
Yep.
She's like, oh, that's smart ass.
I'll also point out that Drew McIntyre came out in some Doom gear to promote Doom the Dark Ages, which I thought actually fit him and just looked like a kind of WrestleMania entrance that he would do. I really liked that. I also do want to shout out, because I did forget it, Rhea Ripley's gear, which to me seemed very clearly to be the Batman Who Laughed. I thought was really cool while also just looking like Rhea Ripley gear. So I thought that was a very clever little WrestleMania outfit that I liked a lot.
It wasn't just like, oh, I'm cosplaying this character.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, if you don't know who the Batman Who Laughed is, you go, oh, that's a cool Rhea Ripley outfit. But if you do know the character, you're like, oh, I see what she's done there. Like, I thought that was really cool. I really like that street fight as well. Like, just straight up brutality, both of them just hitting hard. Thought it was awesome. WWE Intercontinental Title Fatal 4-Way match had Bron Breakker, Finn Balor, and Penta all managed to not grab that IC title, but Dirty Dom Mysterio, the new Intercontinental Champion, and all of us are smiling and nodding at that. Todd?
It's funny, one of the things, that when he won, I legitimately punched the air.
Yeah.
Like he won and I went, yeah, fuck yeah.
What a great pick. Oh, I love him as IC title especially. Like, if it was the US title, that'd be one thing. But the fact that it's Dirty Dom with the workers belt, oh, mwah.
I love that he came out with his uncle's mask on. I love that. Yep. I love that, like, the fact that he got turned into a face by the end of that match.
Yeah.
So much so that he run back to the ring, soak it in a bit.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see what they did, because, like, it looked like it was business as usual on Monday, but who knows going forward now with the reaction he got. You got to think about somewhat going with it.
But at the same time, like, what does a face Dom Mysterio look like? I mean, actual obviously wrestles. Not like actually wrestles. Yeah, I was going to say clearly not the version of it that was teaming with his dad, right? The difference in that a few years makes, my goodness, how much he's grown as a performer, right? But yeah, I thought this was just fantastic. Jamie, what did you think?
I loved it. Everyone in this match got their shit in.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah, it was a great fatal four-way. Let everyone have a moment to shine, and then Dom got the big moment. And yeah, I love that moment where he just ran back and really leaned into, I'm a good guy now. Everyone cheer for me. He was like, what's happening?
I just love how, like, in the post show, they're asking what he was going to do. He goes, I'm probably going to go and get some chicken fingers, some chicken tenders, maybe some In-N-Out, really celebrate this thing.
He's just fantastic. Then Randy Orton had his open challenge where he was willing to face anyone and say his name, and he appears, I believe, in Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry made his WrestleMania debut as the TNA champion, and I think it was a fantastic little match. It only went for 3 minutes, but it did everything it needed to do. Hendry got a big WrestleMania entrance with everyone waving their hands and clapping along, and then managed to escape an RKO attempt early, get some good offense in against a legend, got wrapped up in the moment in the WrestleMania crowd and did his big turn to the crowd. And as the camera zoomed in on his face, out of nowhere comes Randy with the RKO and gets the win, and then lifts up Joe Hendry, celebrates him a little bit, hits another RKO, and then hits the turn pose of his own. Like, if that isn't WrestleMania, I don't know what is. Alex Fireheart saying, I legit laughed at that RKO. It was just the essence of, and Alex also said, hey, Randy actually hit an RKO out of nowhere for a change. Lol. What a delight this was. I thought this was just about perfect. Jamie?
Yeah, it's just classic Randy Orton with the second RKO, just to rub it in after. He's like, yeah, look, this guy's cool. And then rubs it in. I think I would have just liked I would have liked, like, somehow to work out how they could have had somebody say Joe Hendry before he appeared, just to lean into that a bit more.
Yeah.
There are a couple of fans who were at WrestleMania who got the best video clips of all time, who were like, Joe Hendry, and then the music hits. Those people really got the experience. Todd?
Well, see, someone did say his name. It just
someone did say it, just on the broadcast.
There you go. The only thing that got annoyed about this match was looking on fucking Twitter. Oh, you've killed him. You've absolutely killed him for that. He's like, no one killed me. I just had a match in front of 65,000 people with Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Not many people can say they ever got to do that. It wasn't a squash. It was quick, but it wasn't a squash.
He gets to say, Randy Orton's 20th WrestleMania, me. And he put up a fight.
And he introduced, like, more people probably saw that Impact Championship, the TNA Championship, that have seen it in a long time.
Yep. And
so
Wild Angel...
I might check that out.
Wild Angel nailing it. I heard people think Hendry was buried. Apparently 60,000 people singing along and popping for the pose as burial. Seems legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I guarantee his follower count went up.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he nailed his role on the show. I think it was brilliant. Logan Paul managed to get the win over AJ Styles after, and look, Michelle in the chat saying, no, I love that match. We needed a bit of fun. Good surprise and a good rub. 100% agree. Great take. Logan Paul managed to defeat AJ Styles after a little bit of a kerfuffle on the outside where one of Logan Paul's lackeys tried to introduce brass knuckles. Karrion Kross got involved so that he couldn't. Karrion Kross begged Styles to use the brass knuckles, but Styles refused and then got caught by Paul. What did we think of the match, Todd?
I hate the guy. I think he's a great worker, though. His fucking entrance. His entrance was unbelievable. It had to be one of the best, if not the best entrance of the weekend. Like the fact that he was able to operate a drone while doing his entrance and like switching from like carrying the camera to putting it on the drone that like, because I didn't realize what he was doing, because you can't see that it's a drone when he's, and then camera just takes off. I was like, how the fuck did they do that?
Yeah.
And then to be like 9 pictures as he's walking to the ring of every angle of this thing, that's cutting edge shit.
Yeah.
And then doing it during the match as well.
Yeah, I think that like showing off multiple camera angles at once, that can't be the last time we see that. That was bloody brilliant. I thought that was fantastic. Jamie,
but
what did you think?
Like as a person, can't stand him as a worker. So fucking annoying how good he is for how much matches he's had.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes people hate him.
I think, I don't know if it's copium, but I've got to believe that he is just on way more than anybody realizes. Like he's just doing that next level of kayfabe, and a lot of the asshole jerkiness is a character, because he's part of this, generation where it's always on. It's always in character. So I've got to truly believe that part of the reason he's such a prick is because he wants us to truly believe that he is. But yeah, he's so good at what he does. Jamie?
Is that the music he always uses as well?
I don't know. I don't think so.
The I'm so humble music?
That music fitted him so well.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Of course, it says I'm so humble.
Because I never noticed it before, and I noticed it a lot tonight on that show. I noticed it a lot tonight. I never noticed that before, so maybe it is new music.
I think it might be, because I had the same experience, and he was singing along to it, and I think he nailed it. We've got a bit of dissenting opinion. Nick Galea says Paul versus Styles sucked. Cross was the only person in the entire match that had any genuine energy. Paul just seems like a pastiche of doing other wrestlers' shit. I don't get it. I get what you're saying, but like, he's got the genuine hate.
He does a better buckshot than what Page does. I hate to break it.
He's got the best buckshot in the business.
I hate to break it to you. He does a better buckshot than the dude that invented it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to mention it, and Alex Fireheart has mentioned it. On a related note, I did like Karrion Kross's worked shoot afterwards. Yeah, I've got the news headline here. Karrion Kross and Scarlett blurred the lines between reality and character during an appearance on WWE's WrestleMania recap show. Kross was involved in the AJ Styles versus Logan Paul match, but didn't have a match of his own at the event. He told host Sam Roberts that he should have, quote, just started a YouTube channel, and then he would have gotten to wrestle Styles. If you haven't seen that promo, it's one of the better parts of WrestleMania weekend. That worked shoot that Karrion Kross did, it's got energy.
I can't remember who it was. One of my friends sent it to me. Just going, oh my God, can you believe they let him go off like that? I went, oh, you sweet, sweet human. You.
But I thought it was a fantastic promo. And, saying stuff like he said that Goldberg gave him some advice, which was to be a good soldier. And he did that and he got fired. So like some really interesting, like using what's happened in real life to cut into that promo. It makes sense that he's angry at, Logan Paul for getting a match on Mania when he didn't, when Paul has not been a wrestler for that long. Like, great stuff.
I don't know if I'm thinking way too much into this, and I probably am, but it kind of feels like Hunter has his guys, right? And it feels like he says, look, you're going to have to tread water for like 6 months because I'm working something out. But when we get ready to cut this, let's kick it into gear. Because it seems to be that way with certain people. Like, they're like, oh, this guy's been mired and blah, blah, hasn't done shit. And all of a sudden they just start taking off. So it seems like I need to wait to get this done so we can do this with you.
During that time, though, even if he has been a little bit treading water, the background story of everyone that he deals with gets corrupted over time. Like, is something that's been going for a while. Like, the New Day turning heel happened after they dealt with Karrion Kross. Like, he had this ongoing thing where whoever he had a storyline with, a little bit afterwards, they'd gotten that little bit of infection and they turned heel. So I think there's...
And then he'd match his hair. He'd match his hair for the people he was actually, like, talking to.
Yeah.
Like when he was talking to AJ, his hair was always down.
Yeah, just really good stuff there. Anyway, moving on with the last couple of matches on the card, the WWE Women's Tag Team title match. So originally, Lyra Valkyria was going to team with Bayley to take on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. But after a backstage attack which took Bayley out, she needed a new partner, and that partner was Becky Lynch, with the two of them winning the tag team titles from Judgment Day, Lyra becoming a double champion, Becky Lynch returning to WWE and getting the tag team title. And then the next night on Raw, there was a rematch, and Judgment Day won the titles back, and Becky turned on Lyra. Jamie, you're shaking your head. What did you think about this going on?
The match at the time, I thought, it's fine. Becky's come back. Of course she's winning. But then to just flip it the next night, I was like, why didn't we just do the turn yesterday?
Yeah.
What the point? What was the point? Just have it
and get 60,000 people at WrestleMania booing you.
To hate her, yeah. Just do it all at once.
I don't know why you don't have Lyra getting taken out and then you do Bayley and Becky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Bayley and Becky winning those titles at WrestleMania, that's a fucking cool moment. Obviously, they're doing something with Bayley because this is obviously the start of something. That's why I think like Triple H and things said, don't worry about her, she's going to be fine. And then she did that.
That's why they
Chris
put her on
Van
Chris
Vliet.
Van Vliet.
And if you don't think like Bayley worked Chris Van Vliet in that like interview, you need to go and watch that again.
Yeah,
she's playing him like a fiddle in that fucking interview.
She nailed that interview in what she was doing. Fantastic stuff.
And I think she even worked other people like, say, I don't know, Mercedes Moné.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, look, the women's tag team title match was fine. I think, I don't know that having a one-night title change serves the purpose that they wanted to. Obviously, having Becky back was exciting. I think Liv Morgan is an absolute star, right? The way that she just looks like when she is... Oblivion is maybe my favorite finish at the moment. I think everything Liv does right now is perfection. I think the match was good, right? Like, it wasn't stellar, but it was a good moment with Becky coming back. You get to see the faces win a title, and then you get a big turn at the Raw after WrestleMania. I'm not going to complain too much. Main event, pardon me, the WWE Universal Undisputed title, whatever you want to call it. John Cena defeating Cody Rhodes with the help of Travis Scott to become the new WWE champion. I'm going to start with what I really liked about this, and that was John Cena's Tron, where John Cena came out to his classic music, but on all the screens, black with big white sans serif letters that said John Cena. No animation, no color, default text. This is John Cena. I thought that was bloody excellent.
Yep. That was the highlight of the whole match.
Unfortunately, that was the highlight of the whole match. This one was a bit slow going. And look, it was classic.
What, though? I kind of feel like that's a character choice. And I was like, why would you do that, though, if it's a main event?
Yeah.
It's a character choice. He's just going to be like, he's like, I want to kill wrestling. So why wouldn't you just work as slow as possible, be as boring as possible? I'm not here for you people. I'm here to win the title and go home. I don't care.
Yep.
Which I don't know is the best choice, but
it was exactly what that character wanted,
if
right?
they'd inverted the card and had the women in this spot and these guys open, I think it would have worked better.
Yeah, but I understand, like, this is such a big match. I think this has to be a main event. Like, I don't think you can have Cena and Rhodes for the undisputed title and have it and not be a main event.
Yeah, well, especially when you open the night before with the world title as well.
Yeah, exactly. And Wild Angel in the chat says, I love how little John showed after telling us for weeks. He's been telling us he's going to ruin wrestling. Absolutely mint. I think that's exactly right. It means that it's not a fun match to watch. And you're watching for knowing what happens rather than watching because it's an enjoyable match. But I will say that after the stacked card of good matches, I'm fine with one of the matches being not a great in-ring match because of a character choice. I think that that's fine when you had so many really great things going on night 2. I think night 2 was fantastic.
I will admit, the one thing I find...
What was that? Sorry, Jamie?
Without the finish, it probably would have been alright as well. The finish kind of really sucked. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard it or saw it, but he was on Pat McAfee show the next day, and he admitted that he got hair plugs, like hair transplants.
Great.
And he admitted, not only did he admit it, he admitted it because he said, "You bullied me into it."
Wow, that's a good
bullied
touch.
me into it. Like you don't know, you didn't think I know I was going bald. You didn't think I knew that.
He's nailing this heel role.
He's like, it's not all the way in yet, but it's coming in. It's going to get there.
It looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it looked decent. Like I even noticed during the match, I'm like, oh, I think he might have went to Turkey.
Yeah. The Raw after WrestleMania will talk about the fact that Rusev returned. The former United States champion made his return to WWE on the Raw following WrestleMania 41, attacking both members of Alpha Academy. Todd, are you excited to see Rusev back under the WWE banner?
I'm more excited to know that CJ didn't get a contract. She got a Legends contract.
Yes, that's right.
Like, that's cool.
Lana is officially a legend. Yeah.
Just keep her as a legend. As long as we're keeping her away. Let Cena come out and kill people. Let Rusev come out and kill people. Machka and go to the back again. Yeah.
That's it. Jamie?
Great fucking shape too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see if he's willing to lose ever.
Yes. That'll be an interesting question. All right. Overall, I think that...
You know what? Sorry. Just
go.
The funny thing is about that is that, like, remember when Punk came into WWE and we're just like, well, it's only going to be a couple of months. He's going to kick up a stinker because that's all he does. And that doesn't didn't happen. I think some people are products of their environment.
Mm.
Yeah, they could get away with it over there, so they did.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. Overall, thoughts on WrestleMania weekend? I'll start with you, Jamie.
Solid shows, but further highlight to me why I don't watch this anymore. There's not enough in here where I was like, I loved that.
Yeah.
Todd?
I can see that. Like I said, if we'd have taken the main event from night 1 and put that on night 2, that would have been a WrestleMania people have talked about for a while. Mm-hmm. I think the fact, and I know that apparently Hunter explained it like if we're doing a 2-night Mania, I can't do 2 nights where everything is absolutely balls to the wall because people will be burnt out by a night. So then don't do 2 nights. And I understand you kind of have to now because you've painted yourself into that corner. But yeah, I understand what he's saying, but it's like, oh.
I feel like maybe if the focus gets put on night 2 is the big night and put that night 1 is more like the opening ceremony of WrestleMania. So people still feel like it's part of the WrestleMania show, but they're not expecting the full WrestleMania experience. That might be a better way to broadcast that message. For me, I thought that, I know I said for me. I thought that this was an enjoyable Mania where basically everything on the show had at least something I enjoyed. There were no moments here where I went, oh, well, that was an absolute waste of time, right? There was a lot of waiting between matches. I'm very aware of that. But like overall, I really enjoyed the weekend of wrestling. And I always enjoy WrestleMania weekend because everyone's high on wrestling. But I think that the actual product itself, other than some matches that I think I would have rather just heard the result of. Yeah. Most of it was really enjoyable to watch.
I mean, I really like Bloodsport. Does that count as WrestleMania weekend?
Bloodsport. Okay, let's talk about some other news. I know we've been going for almost 2.5 hours already, but we'll touch on some other news stories before we get to our chicken salad. WrestleMania, baby. Right, it's been a big week. And look, a little bit of sadder news here. After a 4-year battle with ALS, Pro Football Hall of Famer and former WCW wrestler and commentator Steve Mongo McMichael passed away at 67 years old. So some sad news there. Someone who, definitely made their name in 2 industries, right? So sad to hear about the passing of Mongo McMichael at only 67. ALS is a horrible thing to have to go through. So we'll remember a lot of the craziness that went on in Mongo's wrestling career. If we, here in Australia don't know as much about his football career, but I understand he was very famous as a football player, even before getting into wrestling. So
decent enough wrestler, amazing football player.
Yeah. Ree in chat just mentioned Nadia Neidhart was a queen at Bloodsport. Was really unreal.
And honestly, from what I hear, he was added to the Horsemen because he was one of the only people that could keep up with Rick. when it was going out partying. Mongo was one of the only ones who could keep up with Rick.
There we go. So Vale, Mongo, McMichael. Over in some other news, former AEW wrestler Alan Angels has announced that he's no longer with TNA Wrestling after his contract expired. Angels confirmed a report regarding his TNA departure in a social media post on Wednesday. The former AEW wrestler and member of the Dark Order stable had been with TNA since November 2022. He wrestled his last TNA match in November last year, and he writes that he intends to continue his career and speaks positively of his time in TNA. That's how it goes. I don't know that anyone is shocked that Alan Angels is moving on from NXT, but I don't know how many people from TNA. Sorry, I don't know how many people were keeping up with it really.
No, really. I almost said you could skip that one because really,
just wanted to touch it quickly. And then this one's an interesting one. The long-awaited in-ring debut of Brody Lee Jr. is now in the record books. The son of the late Brody Lee / John Huber wasn't just the surprise final entrant in the clusterfuck battle royale that closed out night 2 of Joey Janela's spring break at the Palms in Las Vegas. He actually won the match. So a big W to get in his first match. Todd, what do you think of Brody Lee Jr. winning the clusterfuck?
I love it. I haven't had a chance to watch the show, so I'm actually going to get around to watching it this week because that WrestleMania weekend is so much shit on. You don't get a chance to really watch all of it. So I was like, at least I know I've got it on Triller. I can go back and watch the Super Show, the ID show, the clusterfuck, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that spring break this year was incredibly wild, as is often the case. Alex Fireheart says, was funny seeing people who know on socials being like, he did what?
the clips of Sabu and
his mum
Joey.
Was good too.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Reese says, I loved it. And his mum tweeting, just woke up. Brody did what last night? I'll also shout out Minoru Suzuki had 2 wild matches over the weekend. One of them was the worst of the 2 matches was his match against Butterbean with special guest enforcer Dan Seven, and the other one was
is amazing because if you'd have followed Butterbean's story, a year and a half ago he could barely walk.
Yeah, he could barely walk.
He was working out with Jake as well, with Diamond as well. He's another Diamond Dallas Page guy.
Yeah, DDP once again being the GOAT. And the second match that he had that weekend was against Yoshihiko, the very popular wrestler who is the sex doll.
Jim Cornette's favorite wrestler.
Yeah. So just a wild weekend of wrestling, no matter how you slice it, right? And Nick Galea says the clusterfuck lived up to the name, though. I'll also shout out a really cool match that GCW weekend had was Megan Bain defending a title against Lena Cross. So again, we keep telling you Lena Cross is...
No, he's shaking his head. Jamie's shaking his head.
I was in the clusterfuck.
Oh, that was part of the clusterfuck? I feel like that match...
Lachlan.
Did that match then get announced? Because I feel like...
No, they've wrestled previously.
Lachlan. Oh, no.
All right, time for me to make another mistake again. But Lena Cross facing off against Megan Bain, big moment. We're saying big things for Lena Cross. Big things for Lena Cross, guys. Keep the eyes on her because she's going places. Now, look, let's call that my chicken shit for this past week because we've got to talk about chicken salad and chicken shit. So me making a mistake is definitely the worst thing that happened this week in wrestling. Oh, I can't think of anything that I would like less than that.
Nothing else bad happened.
Nothing that we would have talked about for half an hour in the first half of this podcast.
No, not at all.
Like, do we all just agree that we spent a lot of the first half talking about our chicken shit with Red Castle Entertainment? Is there anything else?
I think that's a show one. So if you've got other ones, please let them loose. Or
I had one, the apparent dissension in management at WWE at the moment with The Rock's interview after Raw.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here? Like, he's basically come out and said that everything Triple H booked was dumb.
Yeah, everything I do was great. Everything he did. I think everyone's seeing through that shit now, surely.
Yeah, it's just like, what the
yeah, okay. Whatever, Dwayne. Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain. I tried to surround myself with positive wrestling stuff for most of this weekend, and I think the worst thing I can say is Jey Uso having another like not great WrestleMania match is a bit disappointing. Because
I don't think it was bad.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad. What I'm saying is we know how good Gunther can be, and I've seen much better matches from Jey, and I think the match was only fine. And I think that there were a lot of really good matches on WrestleMania, and the result is going to be that people are going to keep shitting on Jey Uso, which I don't think is fair because the crowd's behind him. You know, he's got everything he's doing is working. Again, really, it's a chicken shit about wrestling fans and the internet wrestling community just being idiots. Like, that's really what it is. Todd?
I've got a chicken shit, and I don't know if you guys will agree or disagree with me about it. So, like, I understand if you don't agree with me or not. So, the roast of WrestleMania was always going to was put up with Tony Hinchcliffe. It was never going to be aired. It was supposed to be just a crowd thing, and that was it. You're going to see it. It's a one-time thing. No one's ever going to see it. And then people, of course, snuck in their phones and took videos, and now I think the whole show's up online somewhere to be listened to or like that. And people are taking little bits and pieces out of it and complaining and being like outraged and insulted. Guess what? You weren't supposed to fucking hear it.
Also, it's a roast. It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah, it's a roast. It's supposed to be like that. Honestly, I fucking can't stand Tony Hinchcliffe. I think he's fucking an ordinary comic at best. Yeah. But I understand what a fucking roast is. I wish they'd have done what they did, and I don't know if I know Lachlan, you didn't go, but did you go to the Dead Man Talking tour, Jamie, with Undertaker?
No.
Okay. When we went to that tour, because I went to the Brisbane leg of the tour, right? When we went in, we had to put our phones into a lock bag when we went in there. I wish they'd have done that for this shit. Because so many people just like bitch and moan, and even people that I really like. I was just like, oh, really? That's like, they were talking about, like, somebody made jokes about Maurice and blah, 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 and they were getting all like upset about that. And then you look on Maurice's fucking like Instagram, and she screenshot a photo of Roast of WrestleMania. She's like, this is amazing. She wasn't all that upset about it. I don't know why you're taking umbrage for her.
Did nobody watch the roast of Tom Brady?
Yeah, I know. That was fucking outrageous.
That was just as bad. And it's like,
but yeah, I do not like Tony. Yeah, I do not like Tony Hinchcliffe at all. I find him generally unfunny.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy roast. I enjoy roast. I even enjoy roast when the jokes aren't all that fucking, like, when they're a little bit too fucking like, oh Jesus, because it's a reaction. Like, that's the humor. The fact that people snuck in videos to do it because they thought, I'm going to get my 5 minutes of clicks and my interaction and my engagement farming out of it, fucking annoys me. Because the whole idea of that show was that no one was ever going to see it anywhere else. So these people could just let loose and have a little fun for one night.
Yeah. And look, the Natural One said that they do usually lock up phones at Tony's home club in Texas, as well as for Kill Tony. Surprised they didn't do it for this show. My guess is they probably did. And so people snuck in extra phones in their underwear or whatever so that they could record it on a second device. Because
so what does that say about them?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, I think some people are just weird. Right. Like, that's what it's going to come down to. I also think Tony Hinchcliffe's an idiot. Like, I think that there's a difference. And like Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges has pointed out, like, how like generic and offensive some of those jokes are, and like you can't just get away with it because it's just a roast. But there's a difference between like actual like clever, funny roasting and just being racist and sexist, right?
Yeah.
So, and I tend to think
like
Hinchcliffe falls on one side of that.
I can't remember who it was on that Tom Brady roast when he roasted Tom Brady about his wife cheating on him with a jiu-jitsu. He's like, what's the worst thing Tom Brady's ever thought? Hey, honey, yeah, sure, go and learn jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking...
You can spin jokes to make them funny, even though they are touching on really sensitive things. But the clips I've heard of this, none of them were like that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's what annoyed me, and it was more the fact that just fucking let people be.
Yeah.
For once.
Yeah.
You had enough things you could have picked on about that fucking weekend.
That's right. Let's be a little bit more positive. Just before we do Andy at Bob Backlund Fridge's chicken shit was the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Show with Suzuki versus Butterbean and Maki Ito versus Mickey James. Apparently unwatchable. That's really disappointing to hear. But Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges also pointed out that House of Glory posted their Megan Bain versus Lena Cross match from last year today. So that's what confused me because I saw the match pop up.
Also, Andy, don't tell me what I'm allowed to be annoyed at and what I'm not allowed to be annoyed at.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the chicken salad from Nick Galea, who said the main event of the DDT show from Mania Weekend of Takeshita versus Mao absolutely ruled. That's awesome. We've also... Nick Galea says Tony Hinchcliffe feels like the worst of Andy Dick's stuff. Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's be more positive. I'm going to say my chicken salad for the weekend was that WWE Women's World Title Triple Threat match. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's why women's wrestling's on top of the world right now, because you see matches like this that just absolutely slap. I think Io Sky winning was a great choice. It really solidifies her as a viable champion, getting a big WrestleMania win over, I would say, the two biggest women in the company in terms of like win rate, right? Those are two women who you expect to win every match that they're in, and Io beat them both, right? And love that decision.
Tell them the GIF I sent you straight after.
Oh, yeah. Thanks very much. Because I pointed out that, I thought they might continue the Bianca winning streak at WrestleMania. So I'm glad that I didn't open my phone because I slept in an hour and was watching the show an hour delayed. So that was really lucky because when I opened my phone, Todd had sent me a GIF of The Undertaker under the 21-1 record when he lost at WrestleMania. So thanks for that, Todd. Appreciated. Todd, what's your chicken salad for the week?
My chicken salad for the week was fucking Natty Neidhart at Bloodsport.
Kill it in the name of.
Yeah, that entrance was sick.
I loved fucking the what was the nickname she was going on? Like the something legend. I can't remember what it was called.
Living Legend?
Yeah. No, it wasn't Living Legend. It was fucking.
Yeah, go on, Todd.
Anyway, she seemed like she was just so happy. Like she seemed like a refreshed Natty. Like, and even afterwards, looks like she might be doing some work with NWA as well. Which low-key legend.
Low-key legend, yeah. Which, like, nail on the head.
It's so fitting for her. Yeah, so fitting for her. I'm like, that's so fucking awesome. But she looks so happy doing that. She looked so happy. She looked in her element doing that sort of stuff. So, which tells me, makes me really know why her and Shayna Baszler get along so well. Because I think they're kind of the same type of person. I love that. Like she was born into just having that fucking contact and that fighting, and like I loved it. I thought it was so good. I even loved it, even though it annoyed me a little bit that she won with a sharpshooter. I'm like, it's a little bit too pro wrestling-y. I just love the fact that afterwards she just went and attacked fucking what's the name in the crowd as well. Like, oh, okay, she's not taking shit from anyone. Awesome. Let's see her in NWA. Let's see her doing some some indie dates now. That'd be great. Bloodsport's on
Roddy
Triller,
online
by the way,
asks
Roddy.
what platform Bloodsport's on. It's on Triller, yeah. Andy at Bob Backlund, Fridge's Chicken Salad was the clusterfuck, was a legit booking masterpiece. From start to finish, great stories, fun action, and an ending that made you smile after a long weekend of wrestling. Wild Angels Chicken Salad was several character reinventions for people and both the fans and wrestlers being happy about it. Jamie, have you got a chicken salad for us?
Mine was the Lena and Megan Bain face-off. When I saw that pop up on Twitter, I was like, oh, yes. There we go. Yeah. Lena's a star. Made.
Yep, absolutely. It's so awesome to have this packed week full of wrestling, and we've all got so many things that we can talk about that we enjoy.
You've also got this weekend, like SmackDown this weekend, possible Aleister Black coming back, possible like Cobb making a debut. Like, it's going to be very interesting to watch that SmackDown. I might normally I don't watch SmackDown. Yeah, normally I don't watch SmackDown live. I'll watch it a couple of hours afterwards, but I think I'm actually going to try and catch this one live to see it.
Absolutely. And look, there's so much good stuff going on, and we're having just a joy talking about it. So make sure you keep up with what we have to say about what's going on in wrestling. You can follow Wrestle Radio Australia for free on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts, you can subscribe to us. You can come right here to twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia and join the chat like all the people have done that we've been talking to tonight. You know what I mean? It's awesome getting back and forth here. If you love what we're doing on Twitch, you can hit that subscribe button and support what we're doing. But there's more ways than that to support what we're doing. If you're on Apple Podcasts and you can give us a 5-star review, it really helps us to get into more ears. And you can follow us on social media. We're at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and Instagram, Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook. You can follow us individually. Todd is at Beast Eastman. I am at Lachlan Albert. Jamie is at Jamie Apps Media. You can follow our stuff. If you want to represent, you can get some merch by searching for Wrestle Radio Australia on Redbubble. The proceeds don't go to us. They go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, two awesome charities that support mental health here in Australia. And if you're looking for merch, kickout.com.au. Kickout merch has merch of your favorite wrestlers from Queensland and around Australia. If you are a wrestler who wants to get your merch on Kickout, contact Kickout on their Insta page and head to kickout.com.au for all of those awesome bits of merch, including, I believe, that lovely Devil's Double shirt that Jamie Apps is displaying right now. Jamie, is there anything else that you want to mention? There should be.
Yeah, wrestling cards. And all of that stuff on ParrierMagazine.com.au.
Absolutely.
What have you got coming up interview-wise?
So we dropped Rita Stone this week. Got Scott Green coming up soon. And Miss Fury, the fire dancer from PWA, next week.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Todd, is there anything else that you want to plug?
No, I'm not booked, Terry. So,
like someone else, hopefully. So,
different reasons. Very different reasons.
Look, it has been a absolutely massive night here at Making Chicken Salad. We always have a joy doing it. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone in the chat and everybody listening. We can't wait to do it again next week.
Sorry, before we go, very big thanks to Jamie for filling in for the last couple of weeks for Jeff, mate. Always a pleasure, never a chore to have you here. Again, open invitation anytime. If you see what we're reviewing a week and you've watched it and you want to talk about it, hit me up. You'll always be on the show, brother. You're one of the team.
So thank you very much.
Talk about the low-key legend, Jamie Apps. But we love doing this show. Thank you so much for joining us. We cannot wait to do until we do it again next week, Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, right here on twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. So on behalf of Todd Eastman and Jamie Apps, I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit.